Hello, 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 everybody. I hope you are doing well, and thank you for joining us on the Transatlantic Call-In Show here on the line. I am joined with Riverboat Jack, and I am Josie Caballero. How are you doing, Jack?
I'm doing all right. The world's trying to grind us down, and yet we persist.
Yeah, we're hard to grind down, but I, we're stubborn like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like the world is a grinding. That's the sound of impending doom as everything's just that grinding sound in the background, and that or I'm having a stroke. One of those things.
Yeah, it's got to be one of those.
It's got to be
Hopefully,
one of those things.
both are bad, but hopefully you're not having a stroke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I have been doing well myself, just also just trying to keep it all together as we move forward in this world around the sun constantly. Yeah, but so I hope all of you are doing well. We're gonna have a great show today. Just remember, if you are just joining us, make sure you like and subscribe because that helps us with the algorithm as well. And make sure you put in your super chats as we do read them at the end of the show of $5 or more. And make sure you do hashtag Team Josie or hashtag Riverboat Jack or RBJ or Jack or however you want to put it, because we have a nice little conversation at the end, and we had a little competition and a conversation. I guess this can be considered both. Yeah, and also we are a call-in show, so make sure you call in at 720-619-2288. And if you are out of the country, you can use the web caller that is in the link description below. So you can come in and ask questions and have a conversation with some real live trans people about all questions you may have that are trans related. We also can do calls about politics and many other things that you want to talk about, but we are definitely here to make sure that answer your questions about trans things. And if you are questioning our existence, you're welcome to call too. So we can tell you that we exist and we're happy here in our existing ways. Great. So with that, we'll go ahead and start with last week's poll that we did. And the poll is, will Republicans just get rid of all books to combat LGBT in schools? I think that was funny. LGBT in schools. And 78% percent says yes, and 22% says no. I'm actually quite interested to see the 22% makes me think that the people are like, well, they can try, but I'm gonna smuggle those books right in there. But
I'd take a bullet
yeah,
for books,
yeah, yeah, right.
Like
Um,
we love books,
it sounds like a book title. I'll take a
right?
bullet for books. So yeah, what did you think of the last week's poll?
I mean, I think if Republicans could, they would absolutely try and get rid of all books.
Just all
And
books.
part of the reason
Schools
I
are
say
not.
that, part of the reason I say that is there was just a story that came out about the major AI companies apparently are buying up all the copies of like rare books so that they can put them through machines to slice off their spines and scan them into their code models, and it destroys the books in the process. So they're
I
literally like
know.
buying books and destroying them with the hope that it will make them money. It's like the burning of the Library of Alexandria, and they think it's gonna somehow turn them a profit.
Yeah.
It makes me sick to my stomach. I hate it.
I hate it so much. And there was memos that were going around that were saying we didn't want to let this out because they didn't like the idea of the destruction part of the books. And this is one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately is how corporations will do things in ways to save them like pennies on the dollar rather than like they have scan ones. They could hire
Uh-huh.
somebody to go and just scan the books and then just, and then they could just go and then put the book somewhere else. But they have
Yeah.
to destroy them. They have to like go in and slice the spine off, destroy the book completely, just so they can be faster at feeding the pages
Well,
through the
and,
machine.
and it's also so that their model is the only one that can be trained off of that data, so
Yeah,
that their model is like gets like an edge over the other ones. It makes me sick. Like it's
it makes
true.
me.
I love books so much, and
Me
the
too.
idea of people destroying them on purpose when, in some cases they might be the only copies that exist. We have
Yeah,
no idea.
yeah, and like they actually have videos of them putting the books into the machine as they just go
Ugh.
slice and it's so frustrating too because it looks like it's like eyeballed too. So like they're probably chopping off the first letter of like every one of the pages. So it's not even the best way to do it. It's like they're literally chopping words off just so they can slice the book. And it's just like just open it page by page. Take a picture of every single page. Just have a freaking robot that just goes and I, like just flipping the pages. But no, you have to slice them and then destroy them.
Yeah,
Is it makes me so angry. Like
right?
yeah, it makes me so mad that that's what they're doing. And it's like and another example of this too is I was thinking about how data centers are cooled, right? Like data
Hmm.
centers are cooled with like running water as they like comes from the outside and it flows across. I was like, and then I was like, when I started my career, it was in the US Navy as a reactor operator, like nuclear engineer. We cooled off cores that were hundreds of degrees with a closed loop system that was not water from the ocean. It was just water that you just pipe through. It's called reactor coolant. And
Hmm.
then you use the heat and create steam that turns generators, creates hot water, does all of these things. But no, corporations don't want to create a closed loop system because that is just too much money to be able to do it. We want to use the river water and heat it up rather than actually like doing engineering principles of laws of thermodynamics. I was just like, it's just the laws of thermodynamics. They've been around forever. Like you could just, like it's not that difficult. Like we cool reactor plants. Why can't we cool data centers using the same principles? I'm just so angry. I just
Because it would
like,
be it would mean that they would, it would cost a little bit more to do it that way. Like,
oh my
got to make
God.
sure we're doing it in the cheapest, most destructive way imaginable.
I know. It's like, why would they want to do it in a way that makes sense? Like, why would they want to use heat transfer principles to like cool neighboring houses with heat pumps rather than, just making the water hotter and killing fish and draining wells? Instead, they'd have no sense of like common decency of the civilization of the communities that they purport to serve. Like,
No,
oh,
Josie, you just don't understand. The people yearn for toxic water supplies. They
that's true.
yearn for it.
They yearn for it like they yearn for the mines.
Yeah, look,
It's
we
just
gotta look. We're putting children back into the mines, the content mines.
yeah,
We gotta
yeah.
put the toxins back into the water.
It's right. That's right. Where they belong. Yeah, oh my gosh. Anyways, that's quite a tangent that we decided to go on there.
Sorry.
No, I
I,
love it.
I,
I
I'm,
love it.
I guess my very roundabout way of trying to say, I think that Republicans support stuff like what is going on with data centers to destroy
Yeah.
books, and taken to its logical conclusion, would be absolutely fine with no physical books existing whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Because if they destroy the books, they can just say what they said.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just like
just
they
you have control over the messaging if it's all digital.
yeah, yeah, you just vibe it. It's like,
Yeah.
we think 1984 said this or 86 said this. It's fine. It's like roughly something totalitarian power brings peace. War is peace. Good stuff like that. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go over really quickly what this week's poll is, and then we'll take our first call. Should anti-trans messaging be banned from inclusive spaces? Yes, it should be banned from anti-trans isn't inclusive, or no, it shouldn't be banned. We don't have to include everyone. So yeah, we'll be asking this question in the chat, and we will get back to it. But looks like we have our first call. Are you ready, Jack?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, let's go into it. So we have Ronnie, he, him, a liberal. I don't know why he said liberal. I don't know why that's even in the tagline. I apologize. We have
Yeah.
Ronnie, he, him, 38 from Washington. You are live on the line with Jack and Josie. It seems you have qualms with delay in puberty. How are you today?
Oh, yeah. Hi, friends. I'm just fine and dandy like sour candy. How are you?
Yeah, good. And
Doing all right.
Rock and
I
roll.
like the folks. I like the folksiness. It's fun. It's fun.
Right on.
Yeah, I like sour
Yeah,
candy
Yeah.
too. Common
yeah,
ground. Let's go.
yeah. Exactly. It's good stuff.
Right
So,
on.
tell us about it. Why do you have qualms with the delay on puberty?
Oh, it's just it strikes me as kind of monstrous a little bit. Okay,
Why?
I tell you guys a little bit, tiny bit of an anecdote. You follow me on a little bit of a personal account here,
Okay.
just for a minute. All right. When I was a little boy, all right. This is probably all in my head, but I perceived that my dingling wasn't growing to keep up as it should be with the other little boys. Again,
Oh,
it's not like I had anything to go off of or any real reason other than just probably paranoia and insecurity to think such a thing. But it was a thought that was in my head. And you're gonna tell me that like going back and talk to my like 13-year-old self about how like we're gonna freeze your dingling's growth for X amount of years. It's just over the line. It's
are
right
you
there.
trans?
No, no.
Well, then why would you have that conversation with yourself at 13?
I just it's a hypothetical, like saying that I was, or maybe I was one of these kids. It's like I'm not sure if I want to freeze the dingling growth or I don't know. It's very much Go ahead, please go ahead.
I'm just fascinated by this hypothetical.
Uh,
Um,
okay,
what
what's
like
what's fascinating about it?
one? Well, what's fascinating about it is that like puberty. What first? Like the idea that like a 13-year-old is looking at other people's genitals constantly is that's a bit weird,
Oh, oh,
right?
let me tell you about what it's like to be a 13-year-old little boy. Oh
Okay.
man.
I think we both understand that very well, Roddy. I think we all
Okay.
have that in common on this call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So like I'm
You
not.
know,
This is
this is news to us.
Hey,
But
I hate to
okay,
tell you, it sounds like it's news that like 13-year-old little boys be looking at your junk. I'm sorry, hate to break it to you,
well, I mean,
but it's
we
better
all look at
that
our
you know
human
now.
bodies. When we're growing up,
No,
we
no, no,
all look
no.
at our
I'm talking about
bodies.
other people's junk. No, no, we're talking about other people's
Why are
junk.
people walking around
Yeah,
without
why are you
why is so
seeing
many
so many
naked people?
penises at 13 years old?
Because I'm telling you guys, I'm a pretty average little boy, and I don't think I was
What?
thinking about it
No,
to a
no, like
degree that's above
how are
anyone
you
else.
seeing all these penises at 13?
Yeah.
Dude, they're everywhere. What the fuck are you talking
Are
about? Pardon
they?
my
Are
language,
Are
they?
friends.
they?
What do
Are
you
they
Yeah,
everywhere?
how?
yeah. Are you you gotta be messing with me.
No, it's a
No.
genuine
The,
question.
Like I
okay,
can maybe count on one hand, like maybe when I was like growing up, going to the back, like whatever. But like that maybe on one hand of like my peers. But like
okay,
I
all right.
think I saw more penises when I was in the Navy showering in one big room than I think I saw in my entire life.
All right, maybe more descriptive. Describe the bulge in people's pants. How about that?
Okay, that's
Is
different.
that
Now
better?
that's different.
Not saying nude
Okay,
people.
I'm
okay.
I tried to preempt this, and not saying that I don't think I was exposed to any more than your average kid. It's just it was probably in my head that my dingling
Okay.
was not keeping up.
Okay,
It's
okay,
not
sure,
yeah, I
growing
sure.
mean
as the
like
appropriate
sure,
amount.
I think we can all agree that like men and teenage boys get in their heads about
Mm.
penis size. Like that's a thing that
Right.
society conditions people to be like, oh,
Same with breast size.
you need to have
Mm.
bigger
Mm.
dicks, you need to have bigger boobs, you need to have a bigger butt. Like there's a whole
Right,
set of
right, right,
these,
right.
but like that's kind of an arbitrary societal standard. It's not it's not
No, we're not.
hardwired into human beings' brains.
No, we're not talking about bigger. We're talking about just average, normal, regular.
Yeah, yeah, but we still
I
don't
didn't.
even
I didn't perceive that I was keeping up.
so Ronnie, all right, enough
All right.
enough with the memes here.
Okay,
All right,
yeah.
so I want to get into the actual
I
substance of the
mean,
conversation. I know, but I'm just
I
saying
know.
you're creating memes, Ronnie. Like you may not
You
know that you're creating
What are
memes,
you
but you
talking
are
about?
creating them. I'm just saying the way
Yeah,
that you're
I seriously
talking
don't know
is
that.
making it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just the way it goes. So let's go
Uh-huh.
back to the root of the conversation here. So
Okay.
how much do you know about the process of like a minor going through puberty blockers?
I think it's probably more than your average bear.
Okay, so walk
Would
me
you,
through it then. What so
oh
let
man.
so just so I am aware, right? Because a simple misconception can completely derail somebody's thoughts about way things are
Oh man.
treated. So my question is, so let's say, you're an 8-year-old kid and then,
Mm.
puberty happens about 10 years old or whatever. So walk me through that process of how a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old would be prescribed, puberty blockers in our current day
Fred,
and age.
Fred, I'm just real reluctant to move into the quiz show section, which I know you're fond of, and it's like,
Well, okay,
um,
so you said you know more than average, so I'm just going to assume that you do.
more than
All
your
right,
average bear,
so
more than your average bear,
okay,
your average jackass
okay,
walking around on the street.
okay, so that means
All
that
right.
if you don't want to answer the questions, I'm going to assume that you know this stuff then.
Uh,
So we're just going to go into it. So the
okay.
question,
All right.
so the reality is, let's say you're an 8-year-old kid and you start
Okay.
talking about the fact that you maybe, let's say it's a kid that was assigned male at birth, like and so the this 8-year-old is expressing the need or want to dress or says that they're a girl and all of this type of stuff, and then that the parents are like, okay, and they go and they get this child a pediatric psychologist just to make sure, and they do a social transition, or the psychologist is like, yes, let's go ahead and let them try different names, let grow their hair out, whatever. And then a few years go by of therapy and just like social transition, no medication whatsoever. And then the doctors are finally getting to the point where they realize that this kid is going to start going through puberty. Well, after the child has been diagnosed with gender dysphoria, which means insistent, consistent, and persistent, that they are saying who they are is a girl, for example, then they can start that process at the point when puberty starts. Then for about 2 years, usually roughly 2 years, usually around 12 or 13, they will then reassess the child continually throughout that process to make sure that the child is still having symptoms of gender dysphoria, which is insistent, persistent, and consistently saying that they are a girl. Then at that point, with the consent of the parent, consent of endocrinologists, their internal medicine doctors, their general providers, all agree, including the person that the procedure is happening to, that they will say, okay, yes, we'll go ahead and put this child, take them off puberty blockers, and then put them on estrogen, for this particular example. So then they develop as a girl would without any testosterone puberty whatsoever, and then they grow up, and then the regret rate is roughly less than 1%, for this procedure, and it's only happening to probably roughly maybe 400 kids a year max, roughly right now on how these procedures actually go. So that is the process of what it takes to become to get puberty blockers. So that is what I'm saying. So you said you knew most of that because you said you know more than the average bear.
well, that's
So
kind of a
what?
different statement, isn't it?
Well, that's what you said. You said you know most of
Well, I
this
did say
because you,
that, which is
yes.
a different statement from I know most of that stuff that Josie just blabbered on about. It.
I didn't though. I'm just talking about standards.
Eh,
I'm not. It's not
Like
my opinion. This is
I
standards of care.
I
no,
guess
I didn't say anything about your opinion.
but for me,
Yeah.
Ronnie, I guess I'm
Okay.
confused about the connective tissue here between your insecurity
Okay.
about your penis size and
Uh-huh.
other people who needed a medical intervention that you didn't need.
Oh, just that it seems blatantly, just like on his face, that you're going to tell a little boy who's maybe insecure that his dingling isn't keeping up as it should be, that we're going to freeze your dingling growth for a few years
So
But
for
Ronnie,
this or that reason?
that's
that's
not
not
what
what
happens.
that's not what happens. That's
Oh,
not what a pediatric
that's not what happened.
psychologist does. No.
No,
Oh, that's not
trans
what
You
puberty
don't
blockers
hear.
do.
trans girls aren't
From like you
insecure
guys.
about the size of their dinglings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Ronnie, like you do. Did you
No,
miss the
no, it's
part
the
where I
little
said
boys.
that I said a pediatric psychologist is involved for years before this
Uh,
happens.
okay.
So this is somebody who is a trained professional that
All
understands the
right.
psychology of children, that is
Okay.
able to suss out if it is a kid that's insecure about their penis size versus a kid that has insistent, persistent, consistent gender dysphoria, which is a diagnosis.
Ah, okay. All right.
Well,
Those
Well,
are
I just,
very
I
different
find it hard to
things.
take your word for that kind of thing. You know,
it's not
Why?
our word. It's
uh,
the word of like the
it's a,
dominant medical establishment on planet Earth.
Yeah, it's the standards
yeah,
of
yeah,
care. I'm not like this is
yeah, word.
all consent with the parents.
Like
This is all done
Okay,
with medical
that is not.
providers.
this
Doesn't
is like
matter.
you calling
Again,
What?
this is
second
like you
thing.
calling in to argue that like, well, why are you
Uh,
advocating for like chemotherapy instead of prayer to treat cancer? And it's like, well, because
what? Don't
chemotherapy
call
is
me religious.
chemotherapy.
Gross,
Well, it
man.
doesn't have to be prayer. It could be
Oh yeah, that's what you said.
eating pure honey
It's a
from the
hypothetical, Ronnie.
Himalayas, like it
Uh, uh,
whatever. It could be like some kind
an
of like
equivalently stupid
granola
kind of
crunchy
belief. All right.
solution. But
Well, yeah, it is a
but
Yeah.
that
stupid
yeah, like
belief. It is a stupid belief, yeah, to think
Ronnie,
that doctors
Which,
aren't involved.
which I would
Ronnie,
call,
you're basing
I would
your
call
belief
that
off of your own
quasi-religious.
insecure. Ronnie, you're the reason I'm
Yeah.
using a stupid example is because you came here with a stupid example. You came here being like, well, I was
Oh.
insecure about my penis size, so therefore other people shouldn't get medically necessary care, right?
There. No, no. Therefore, you think other little boys aren't insecure about their dinglings?
You aren't
But they're not
representative of all little
trans.
boys, one,
Like
and number
we're not
two,
talking. Yeah,
you're
sorry.
not a
Go ahead.
trans
Why are you
person,
yelling?
Ronnie.
Calm down, everybody. Calm down.
Well, no,
Yeah,
Ronnie,
I know.
you're not a trans person, so like
Yeah,
your
okay.
perspective isn't informative about trans people's perspective or trans children's perspective, right?
Oh, okay. All right. So you found a reason, this or that reason to invalidate my opinion?
I mean, your
I knew you
opinion
could do
is
it.
that kids' genitals aren't big enough, which is a weird
Yeah.
thing, right?
Oh,
You're
okay.
sitting there
Your
spending your
your
time as a
second thing is to
grown-ass
try.
adult man, Ronnie, thinking about the
Yeah, trying
size
to
of
make me a
children's
weirdo.
genitals. That's weird.
Proposing this weird stuff. Trying to make me the
That
weirdo.
Not, Ronnie, we're not proposing weird stuff. We're proposing the same
Yeah, no, you are.
position espoused by the medical establishment, backed
Yeah,
by
which is
medical
really, really
science.
weird.
You're a
Really
guy
weird shit,
calling
yeah.
in saying, I've spent a lot of time thinking about 13-year-old boys' dicks. That's not
Yeah.
equivalent.
There you are again, making it a weirdo like
You're the
something
one
that
who brought up
pedos.
13-year-old boy dicks. Like, you're the guy who came in
Yeah,
talking about dingling size, dude.
Ronnie,
yeah.
and
That's my concern
I'm
that's in my
trying.
head, but
I
should I
you
just not
know
bring it up?
Why are
I
you
just
concerned
explained
about
to
the
you.
size of
Well,
penises for children?
yeah, that
Well,
but that
I'm
but the
actually
thing
an
is,
owner. Come out.
so
You're
so
gonna have me right now. I'm
so
actually an owner of a dingling.
yeah, so Ronnie,
A
look,
former
look.
insecure little
The
boy.
the question but the thing is, like, even when I take you in good faith in this conversation, right?
Alright.
You
So he is.
said How do you know that like it's not an insecure boy getting puberty blockers? And I told you because pediatric psychologists, including endocrinologists, including general providers, including the parents, are all involved in this procedure before anything ever even happens or before a needle's even met to the arm of the child when it comes
Okay,
to this
Josie, I
type of
didn't say how do you
care.
know nothing. I didn't say how do you know
What?
nothing. I say you're proposing. I didn't say how do you know nothing. I say you're proposing to tell a little boy who perceives that his dingling is not keeping up that he's we're going to keep it small for a while because for this or
That's
that
not
reason.
what
That's
I'm
Because
not
not
what a
saying.
that's not what a
That's not
trans
what I'm
person
saying at
is,
all.
Ronnie.
Ronnie,
that's totally what you're saying.
that's not what a pediatric psychologist would recommend puberty blockers for. I literally said that
That would be the result.
a pediatric psychologist
Uh huh.
diagnoses gender dysphoria, which is persistent, consistent, and insistent for well over a year before any
Oh
type
man.
of puberty blockers are prescribed. That is what
Well,
it
that
is in
changes everything.
America.
Well, everything's
It
different now, and then
does.
you completely changed my mind. And man, oh, everything's different the way because you said
Hey,
that
Ronnie, do you
magical little
believe your
phrase.
doctor when they give you like a medical prescription?
Well, sure.
Okay, so how's this different?
Now make the jump. I believe in you.
No, how's this different? I'm asking you.
Uh, um, dude,
Yeah,
whole papers could be written about the huge, the chasm, the canyon of difference.
describe it to me.
I'm,
If it's so obvious, describe it.
again, I'm trying to just get me to start saying
I mean,
things
it
that you
kind of
could
just
pick
sounds
apart
like you
and be
called
all
into a show to talk
romantic.
about 13-year-old boy dicks,
Yeah.
and you're giggling about it because you think
Ronnie,
it's
Oh,
yeah.
funny.
there,
You
there,
think it's funny
there you
and
go
Ronnie,
again.
like you literally just said that my statement
There you go
changes
again.
everything. I don't care. I don't care if you said it tongue in cheek. The reality is I told you how puberty blockers are prescribed and they're not prescribed to little boys that are insecure. That's not what it is. It's about
Oh, okay,
actual
all right.
medical diagnosis. So if you agree, I
Uh-huh.
think this call is over.
You're gonna want to get rid of me because I'm making decent points, and you're gonna
No,
No, you
I think
literally
take me
you're
off that. I
said,
love you, okay? Hey, all right,
you literally
you
said you
guys,
agree.
wait.
You literally said that you changed your
Josie,
mind because of the fact that it is prescribed to people who have gender dysphoria and not insecure boys, which
oh
was your
man,
statement.
the
Your
most pyrrhic
statement was
victories are
puberty
the only ones you have.
blockers.
Uh,
Ronnie. I think you're just a troll
quick,
caller. To be honest with
just real
you,
quick, real quick. You guys, I have a joke. I have a joke for Art and Heart.
She's not here.
I'm muting him.
She's not here. So, all right,
Because
Ronnie. Well,
I don't
I
think
will
this.
take.
I don't think
Of
Ronnie was
course not. Of
serious.
course not. It's
Yeah.
not. But the thing is, Ronnie did agree. He said that his perspective was changed when he realized that puberty blockers aren't prescribed to the kids that are insecure. So,
Hmm.
thank you, Ronnie, for your call, and I'm glad that we changed your mind. Bye bye.
I expected better from a sour candy lover
I
than
know. I know.
constantly talking about little boy genitalia. That was weird.
It's just so it's so wild because it's like he like tried to get his point. He really thought it was a gotcha.
Hmm.
But then when I actually bring in like pediatric psychologist diagnosis, so that it takes over a year, he's just like, well, fuck, I can't really say anything.
I
Like
mean,
that's literally what.
I don't think he was trying to argue in good faith at all
No, he
that entire
wasn't.
time.
But that's why when you actually brought in a reasonable point, he's just like, oh, my mind has changed. You finally got me. It's like
Yeah,
whatever, dude. Like, yeah,
he just
yeah.
wanted to talk about gross subject matter.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's just like it's just it wasn't even funny. And that's the thing. He was like giggling the whole time.
Hmm.
The whole time. Oh my gosh. Well, it wasn't that fun. So, let's see.
What a loser, indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. So, looks like the call here. Let's actually take the one that just came in here. Let's take in S, she, her from Canada, 30 years old.
Years.
And you have to make sure you mute the video. You are live on the line with Jack and Josie. Tell us about your thoughts on gender ID as a social construct.
Yeah, so um, like I guess in my perspective, it is like a social construct that is um, very tightly connected to sex. You know, it's like it's more likely than not your gender identity will align with your dominant sexual characteristics. But um, I guess what I'm getting hung up on is why do you say it's natural? Like, what do you mean in that in your prompt?
So can I say, do you think sexual orientation is natural?
Yes.
Okay, it's a similar thing to that. Gender identity is natural as in kin to your sexual orientation. There just is, it just is, right? So the idea that we have that gender ID is that, if that makes sense.
And
Yeah, but
I would just add
mhm.
to it that it is born out of the human mental desire and inclination to put things into categories, right? And so we tend to collect different bits of information, put them into different categories. It's how we categorize animals, all of that. But what we collectively socially agree on when it comes to those different categories is socially constructed, right? So while you're right that it can align quite closely with sex, the categorization varies from like society to society, etc. So like the tendency to create social constructs around the categories that we use in day-to-day life is natural. And
Yeah.
so like it's why you get it's why you get these categories everywhere on Earth. They're like it's why you have even in societies that have, you know, more than two genders, you have you know, third genders, fourth genders, even fifth genders that have different social socially constructed parameters, right? And does that help make sense a little bit more?
Yeah. I guess like something rattling around in my head is um, like I don't want to overcomplicate things, but it sounds like there could be a like a third dimension to this, right? So like gender identity, um, your dominant sexual characteristics, and then like something else that
Yeah.
makes you feel like dysphoric, for example. Um,
S-
and you know, like with
y-
non-binary people, for example, um, or like any other genders in other cultures.
Yeah.
Like
So let me
I
let
guess
me
what's yeah, go on.
so are you having is the hang up the idea that something is social is natural? Is that, are you still there?
Maybe yeah.
Okay. So here, maybe if I frame it this way, I would say that humans, because we are naturally social creatures, right? And we can also look at the animal kingdom to see that there are animals that have social, you know, things that they do as well. That social animals like humans are a natural phenomenon. Our want to create social tribes or social connections beyond just like familial, but also acquaintance and family, friends, and so forth, and community as it continues to expand out. the idea of a social construct is natural for humans to do. Just like in
Mm.
the, chimpanzee community, social constructions also exist when it comes to like the leader of a group of chimps, or how how they treat like the mothers of their little groups that they have. So I would say that it is natural for humans to create social constructions because that's just what we do. And we can see this through observations of humans that don't even have connections with wider, civilization through anthropology and anthropological studies, that humans will always tend to create a social construct. So the social construct of gender is just something that is naturally created within the social construct that humans naturally create on its own. And I think that's what Jack is talking about when it comes to like the nature categorization that humans typically do.
Okay.
So
Um,
that's what, so does that make sense? I would love your
mhm.
thoughts on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think like some like tell me if this is too off topic, but like so two things I'd like to hear your perspective on are like the I don't know what you call them, like neo genders or something. Um, and the other is because like I'm not neo gender, so I do not understand it at all, but I'd love to learn about it. Um,
Sure.
and the other thing would be um, actually, yeah. Let's just start there. I was
Yeah.
gonna bring up
Yeah.
like the way that like it's like if you ever hang out with like flamboyant gay men, they are like very different. Like I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I'm just saying like you could argue that it is a different gender expression, even though it's like
It
they
is.
identify
It
as
Yeah,
male.
is.
it
It
is.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
you do
literally
consider it different
because
one. Okay.
there are five things that typically I like to posit as part of like people's internal gender identity. There's the sex that you're assigned, which you said were like sex characteristics that you said earlier in the call. There's gender identity, which is who you are as far as like your gender. And then there's gender expression, which is how you express, be it masculine, feminine, or anything around or in between.
Hmm.
And then there is sexual orientation, right? Who you choose to be romantic with. And then I also say relationship configuration, people who want to be with zero or multiple partners and everything in between. So those are
Okay.
all things that are inside of us that we don't really have control over. They're just things that exist about us.
I see. Okay.
And I say,
Yeah,
and
because like
sometimes they
okay.
relate, and sometimes they're all independent.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. You know what? That makes sense. That makes sense. What about
Yeah.
like neo? Again, correct me if I'm wrong with the terminology, but like neo gender
Yeah.
I
stuff.
don't I don't know. If you want to
I
go
mean,
into it, Jack, I can too.
yeah, I can pick it up a little bit. It's people who identify with a gender that isn't within the mainstream of our society. So it's somebody who's saying, like, well, I identify with these characteristics or with these, and putting them together in their own like configuration. And oftentimes they lack the language to properly like it lacks a label of its own, so they come up with a new one.
Yeah.
And usually it's
Hmm.
something that is evocative of the different characteristics that they are putting together to invoke with their identity.
Yeah, and
Um,
I would like to also add too is that pronouns, like the neo pronouns is usually how these things are referred to, are
mhm.
just another form of expression.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
kind
Pronouns are
of
not
Okay.
identity.
it's also likely the method by which multi-gendered societies that again have more than just two genders that are widely accepted build up what then becomes more socially accepted third or fourth genders. Um, but like it's similar how I'm if you've read Robin Hood, you might have heard of like Richard the Lionhearted, and like
Hmm.
they called him the Lionhearted because he had the characteristics of a lion and was brave, et cetera, et cetera. And so there might be people who call themselves like lion gender to invoke similar characteristics to like more closely identify with that as not just like a moniker, but like their identity. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Okay.
And I would also say this just because, as I work in, the political realm of things, like usually you have the general broad-based category of non-binary because
Hmm.
that is outside of the binary man and woman. So people can fall all within that non-binary category, and it is something that a lot of people will say, okay, there are people who are trans who are not cis, so therefore their gender identity doesn't align with their sex assigned at birth. They're just trans or something other than what cis is. So a lot of times, if people are saying, I would even say if somebody considers themselves lion gender, I would still believe that it is a category of non-binary. It's
Yeah.
just how that person is slicing that community even more finely. And usually a person who would say that they are a lion gender, which is like a xenogender, they would call it, are usually just saying that around their close friends, and they're not like projecting it to the world to expect everyone to adhere to that. And that's where I think a lot of people that that have neo pronouns that are not anything beyond he, him, she, her, they, them. Most of the people who have those neo pronouns expressions of their gender usually don't expect the entire world to accept it right away, and a lot of times they accept the understanding that most people are going to see them as non-binary and then go through society in that way. And then the people who are closest to those people are the ones that know more about that person's particular beliefs and how they identify. And that's the beauty of friendship. And if you have somebody who is a close friend like that has those type of identities, it's a gift for them to be able to share something so intimate and private with you.
Yeah, usually if it is something that usually you will encounter people who are pretty understanding and aware of their position in the world, where like they know that not everyone is going to intuitively grasp lion gender. I don't know why we landed on this,
Oh, it looks like
but as an
we lost
example.
them. We lost them.
Oh,
They dropped. Oh,
I'm
oh
No,
well.
they're back.
Oh no. Oh, there you
we
are.
got you back.
Oh God, we got you
We got
back.
you
sorry.
back.
Yeah, I'm just on my phone, so I disconnected by accident.
No
Okay,
worries.
that's interesting how fast you come back.
Um,
But yeah, so did you get that last thing Jack said?
I missed maybe 30 seconds, but um, yeah, I think I see where you're going with it.
yeah.
Like if you
Yeah.
don't like, I have more questions about that because I've read a lot about like the binary scale of things, but I I still find the xenogender thing confusing. So like
And
you
that's
just
Yeah.
tell me
fine.
if you're open to talk about it, then
Yeah. I mean, we're open to talk about it. It's just like it's understandable that it's not intuitively graspable by you because like there are people who are like, I'm you know, uh lion gender and like you hear that and encounter that for the first time, you're just like, what the hell does that mean? And
Yeah.
most people who identify in this way understand that people aren't going to intuitively grasp that and so are in part doing it so that they can have that more in-depth conversation, right? About what their identity means to them and why it's important.
Yeah, and I just want
okay.
to say this as well as, someone I'm a binary trans woman, and so one of the things that I will say is sometimes we don't have to understand everything to respect someone. And that's kind of the way that I look at it because I will never understand somebody who is taking on the identity of a xenogender. I have no idea where that concept comes from. I don't know what it feels like. I have no concept of it other than it's trans or not cis. And so for me, that's good enough. And I don't really need to know more. And for me, it's something that I think as human beings, I think we should all kind of learn to let go of the fact that we will never understand everybody's lived experience to the level that somebody who's living that experience has. And that is okay because I always look at, and I've said this many times on the show, is like humanity is a tapestry that has multiple colors and textures, and it's this beautiful thing that all exists, and it's okay for you not to understand all of the weaves of that thread. Just understand that it's just all part of that same beautiful tapestry. And if you're able to go through life understanding and accepting everybody how they show up, it's going to alleviate a lot of your own stress of not needing to understand what that person's going through. Empathy is important. You can feel for them, but understanding the lived experience is going to be difficult. I don't know what it's like to be a man. I have no clue. Even though I lived my life as a quote unquote man, I was definitely had no idea what it was. I just kind of puppeted it, like I kind of like was like a marionette on the stage, and I'm like, oh, I think this is what guys are supposed to be like, so I just kind of like
Yeah,
performed
I can
everything
relate to
around me.
that.
Yeah, right. But I still respect men, right? Even though I don't understand them, I still accept their identities as men, even though it weirds me out, understanding that they want to be that. But that's okay. I still love them, and that's how it goes. So that's how I think about it. Maybe that's a way you should reframe it for yourself too. Is like understand that you will
Yeah,
never understand men, so you would never understand somebody with the xenogender either.
yeah, okay. And I guess to tie it back to the natural thing, like if you frame human social constructs as natural, which you already pointed out, then you could argue that it is natural for like non-binary, like that whole umbrella of gender expressions to be natural as well.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we can't go inside their brain and say otherwise. Just like
Hmm.
nobody can go into your brain and say you're trans or not.
Hmm.
Right? It's just who you
Well,
are.
I
There's
think,
that
And
is
like
natural.
I would also throw out
yeah.
there that like yeah, like especially, you have India is a go-to example here, they have a recognized third gender in their society, have for like over 1,000 years. And like it's also natural for that third gender to exist in Indian society.
Hmm.
The Hijra people have like defined social role. They have and there's a common understanding in society about kind of what that means, what that entails. It's just more well known and adhered to on a social level, so it has more validity in the eyes of the general public. But it's the same phenomena played out on a large scale.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Okay.
well,
I
that's
think
thank you
that's
so
it.
much for the
So
call.
yeah,
I really
Yeah.
appreciate
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the answers. I like your show, so keep it up. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
Thanks
for
for calling
watching.
in.
All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye. All right, let's
That was
go.
lovely.
Yeah, it was. It was nice. So let's go ahead and look at this week's poll to see how our audience that is currently watching answered.
Let's do it.
No, I probably caught Lux off guard. Oh my gosh. They might be screening. They might be screening a call right now.
Ooh.
Okay.
It's okay. We can vamp. We can
We
vamp.
can vamp or we can just go ahead and take another call either way.
I'm good with
Um,
either.
yeah, let's see. It looks like we have let's take um Jacob, him from I think it's Indiana. No. No, that's I don't know why that IND is in there, but
Oh,
from
independent.
California. Oh, now I see. From California, wants to follow up on opinions have changed. Jacob, you are live on the line with Jack and Josie. Tell us about it. What opinions have changed?
Hey, how's it going? I called in like 3 weeks ago, I think, and I
Mm-hmm.
talked to you and
Okay,
someone else. I forget her name.
probably
Um,
Lux.
but yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I came in calling and saying that I didn't believe that trans women were women, and I think a lot of it was me feeling that this thing that we're told is like gender identity is to
Mm-hmm.
me it just seemed like a feeling, and
Yeah, I remember this.
I wanted to
Yes.
call. Yeah, I wanted to call and just I've been thinking about it ever since our conversation, and mostly apologize because
Oh.
I fear I was very wrong because um, there's something so personal with what you guys explained to me gender identity is that um, I'll never understand what you guys went through, and I honestly feel um, like the things that I said, even though my intentions weren't bad, was very arrogant to think that I know what it feels like, and that I can sit here and say you guys just feel a certain way and want to impose it on everybody. And I think a lot of that is just what I was taught and growing up in um, certain ideologies and whatnot. But but just like really thinking about it a lot, I feel that I've not only just a conversation with you guys, but it just makes me sad that I was that way and that there's so many people that are that way that are not allowing you guys to just be people and live your life and be happy
Yeah.
and yeah. So I mostly wanted to say that I appreciate you being kind and changing my mind, and I want to apologize for saying this deeply personal experience is just a feeling when it's a lot more than that. So that I didn't
Oh,
want to take up too
wow.
much of your guys' time, but I did
Jacob,
want to say that.
Jacob,
Yeah.
you
what
gave me chills. Like this never happens, and I'm so happy that it has because I've been literally thinking about this show and how exhausting it is because I've been doing this for 3 years and nearly 3 years at this point, and getting a call like this gives me chills and it makes me feel like it's all worth it. But yeah, Jack, you wanted to say something?
I just like it's one amazing that you changed your mind because often this show and the debates we have aren't even necessarily to convince the person we're talking to, it's to get other people thinking about their positions. And
Right. Yeah.
like you went into a confrontational conversation and then you walked away from it, thought about it and changed your mind. And not only that, which is amazing by itself, you then called in to like
Yeah.
apologize. Like the unbelievable W on your part. It speaks
Yeah.
well to your character and it makes me feel hope for humanity. So thank
It
you.
really did. You gave you I still have chills. Jacob, thank you so much. And I'm gonna ask you a couple questions because I actually after that call later on in the week, I actually listened to our call again because I did feel it was so interesting. I rarely do that. I rarely go back into like the live and like listen to it again because it was impactful. It was a conversation that was just like I was like, damn, like how did that go so awry that I actually listened to
Yeah.
it again? So what was the driving factor that made you think maybe, I wasn't right on this?
I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think the main thing was what you said not too long ago, where just because you don't understand something doesn't mean that you don't respect the person. You don't
Mm,
you in a way you have to just accept it as truth because it is something that only you would know. And
yeah.
I think it just came from a place of just inherent human like ego and thinking that I knew
Mm,
something when it really is something that I have no clue the experience and I have no clue what it's like. But I think at the very least, there's nothing wrong with respecting your guys' experience and respecting it and moving on and treating you guys no different than anybody else because it really is like in my experience, obviously there's a lot of groups on the planet
Hmm.
today that are discriminated against, but in my
Hmm.
experience, LGBTQ is by far the most discriminated against. Just an everyday conversation to like,
Yeah.
if you're doing something bad, to say, "Oh, you're being gay" and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and I could see why that could be really hurtful for someone that is dealing with that or you know
Yeah.
feeling so yeah.
So Jacob,
So
thank you for sharing that. I have a question. I know I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions because this rarely happens, and I'm gonna please thank you for your kindness and being here and having this conversation. Just want to say thank you. And the chat is very happy with you right now. Everybody's very happy because they remember the
they
call
were
too.
not happy
Uh,
with me
no,
last time,
no,
so that's
no, but
good.
you got a lot of love in the chat because very few, everybody's like good human, like you are a good human. So one of the things that, and I've had many conversations with people, thousands of conversations with human beings and some of them have this point of view. What does this make you think of your own gender? Now that because I remember I think we talked in that conversation about how like what makes you a man and how do you view yourself now with this understanding?
Yeah, well, I will before I answer still say I don't like I said a second ago fully understand, so I may
Sure.
not
No,
even
but I'm asking
Yeah.
explain
you about
about
no, that's fine.
myself
You're still
properly.
learning.
Yeah,
No, that's
yeah,
fine. But like the idea of your identity as a man, have you thought about that for
mhm.
yourself?
Yeah. I think I mostly thought about it as I feel like I am like the gender role that is a man. I feel
Uh-huh.
like that's ultimately what it is. I've never felt like, and I think it's a lot harder to explain it as someone that is a man, maybe to just say that like this is just how it's been for me. I haven't really had to think about it. Where I feel like you guys
Yeah.
would have to think about it so much more deeply because of the being like if I was in a woman's body, I would probably have to think, wait, like why do I not feel like a woman? And I'd have to think about it so much
Hmm.
more deeply and
Yeah.
understand who I actually am. Where with me, I've never really had to think about that deeply because it's just like, oh, I'm a guy. That's just how I am. Because I have a
Yeah.
penis, this is my role in society. It's literally that
Yeah.
simple. Like,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I've just never felt anything different than just like the standardized like what you would consider it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've never had. But just like I said, I think a big thing that put me in your guys' shoes was I tried to think about if I was had a different body than what my gender
Yeah.
identity was and how difficult that would be. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you
I
for that. And I
for
just want to
sure.
just say this, my identity of woman is very similar to yours. It just is. It's hard to
Mhm.
explain. I just am,
Yeah,
right? I just am a
yeah,
woman.
exactly. Yeah,
And I think that's why, for a lot of trans people, we try to like compare it to your experience as a man for our own gender identity. It's the same thing. There's really no words to it. It just is, right?
yeah,
That's kind of
just what
why
you are. Yeah,
it's just what you are. And I think that's why I got so like I got so animated when you said it's a feeling, when it's more than a
yeah,
feeling. It's just what's
yeah,
so, right? Like I would never
yeah,
challenge you and say you're not a man. So to say that for somebody to say I'm not a woman is like it's like, "Oh, what do you know about me? You don't know me like that."
yeah.
Right?
No,
And
absolutely, and that's the main reason I wanted to call because it was more than just me losing an argument in my mind. Because if that happens, you just go on and you're just like, well, that day I was proven wrong. To me,
yeah.
I said something that was just so falsely incorrect it deserved an apology because I would never want to tell someone to just feel like they know who I am better than myself because that's literally so arrogant. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
I
I wish I
apologize
could
for that.
bottle the experience that you have and just give it to the entire world, Jacob. I really do. Because wouldn't the world be so much better if people just thought that way?
Yeah, I think what it's ultimately about is like I even said this when I talked to you guys the first time is it has to it has to not be coming in as a debate. It has to be coming in like because debates really have just become like who's got the better opinion, like checkmate, I've got you, rather than just a conversation between two people with different opinions
Mhm.
that, at the end of the day are both human beings. Like
That's right.
they probably both enjoy sunsets. They probably both enjoy the same
Yeah.
shops. And it's like you guys are yelling at each other over this stuff, and it's like you guys literally would enjoy the same sunset together and probably
Yes.
enjoy so much of the same things, and it's really sad to me. And I've just been
Exactly.
thinking deeply about it. So
Thank you, Jacob, because we don't like arguing our existence either.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
and
that's brutal. That's brutal that
Yeah.
that's the cards you guys were dealt, and hopefully generations from now, future trans kids will be thankful for you guys to pave a way to where they're not having to fight like you guys are. So
that's
Yeah.
the hope. And like I keep that spark of curiosity alive. I wish more people approached trans issues from a position of curiosity and genuinely looking to understand, because often that's the hurdle. So many people come, especially to this show, looking for a fight, and
yeah.
your approach is so invaluable. No, invaluable. No,
You said it. You
did
said
I?
it.
Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
you
got in my
did.
head about
Hey,
it.
I
All
Yeah.
right,
understand. I
you
understand.
you
It's
understand
okay.
what I mean. But
Yeah.
like it's so important, and it's so good not just for this conversation, but for so many other like problems and issues and complicated realities of life. And like I love this for you, and I wish more people had that curiosity.
Yeah. Thank you
Well,
for
I
calling.
appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
take up too much of your guys' time,
No,
but
I
I
no,
just,
thank
yeah,
you for answering my questions.
of course.
I'm very
Yeah.
grateful for you, and I think you just gave me another 6 months of this show because for me I was getting pretty burnt out.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, so
Well, if you
so
ever hear
yeah.
someone that really is genuinely like, they're not just there to like try to like checkmate you, and they actually want to have a
Yeah.
conversation, but think that they actually are willing to change their mind, and they're not just there
Yeah.
to argue. So 'cause
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
really appreciate what you guys, because if you guys didn't do what you guys do, I would probably still be thinking what I'm thinking right now. So I
Yeah.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Jacob. All right. Well,
Of
have a
course.
great rest of your
All right.
day and really
You
appreciate
guys
you.
too.
Share your story with others. All right.
All
Bye.
right. All right. Bye.
Bye.
I just want to bottle this feeling I'm
I
experiencing
know.
right now.
I know. Oh my God. Like Jacob, if you're still listening, like that's exactly what I needed. I needed that. I needed that because this show can get very, very exhausting.
Yeah.
And to have that. And that was also a particularly contentious day. I remember that day in particular. I was on with Lux and like every caller was just like a nail in the side of my head. I was just like, why is this like this? And it was just like, I don't know. I was also in a very interesting mood. I was also very spicy that day. So yeah, that's great. That's really great. Yes, to the chatters say we all love a redemption arc, and yes, that is true. I am feeling very good about that. Lux, if you can hear me, what is the results of this poll? So I don't know. Can I see the results? Or did
We
it
usually don't
disappear?
have we don't usually have results for the this week's poll in this regard, but in the chat this week it was 90% said yes, they should be banned, and 10% said no, you can post anti-trans, it's okay. I don't know what this is about though, so please tell me more.
Oh yeah, I brought this up largely in connection with some drama that's been playing out with the WNBA. There's a player named Sophie Cunningham who made some anti-trans comments about, trans girls playing in women's sports. And that has spurred a number of anti-trans activists to start attending WNBA games wearing clothing from a brand called XXXY, which, as you may be able to intuit if you are here, is a brand that's largely funded and propelled by anti-trans messaging and you know
It doesn't even make
customers.
sense. It doesn't even
And
make sense. Like it's like a trans person has XXXY too.
yeah,
Like why?
but
It could be a trans inclusive brand.
it all kind of came to a head a couple days ago because a minority owner for the Seattle Storm, named Celeste Keaton, saw a bunch of these people at one of their recent games, and they were holding up signs like saying "Go Go Sophie." They were wearing the anti-trans merch. Um, and thank you for speaking up for girls. And well, uh, as like the game was wrapping up, she went over and said that they're effing insane. And for this, the Storm issued a formal apology saying, "We are aware of our co-owners made comments to two fans in attendance at last night's game." This is from Storm majority owner Ginny Gilder. "We apologize that this happened. Everyone who attends a Storm game deserves to feel welcome, and we remain committed to creating an inclusive environment where every fan is treated with respect." And then, of course, they suspended Celeste Keaton for 5 home games. On top of that, for just
Sounds
commenting that their transphobia was effing insane.
sounds like a storm front.
Yeah,
That's what that sounds like. It sounds like you're playing for a team that should be called the Stormfront
right?
because that's what it's a little bit storm fronty.
Yeah. Um,
Oh, wow,
and
that's wild.
it's one of those things where like transphobes like to be so cute like about it, like, "Oh, I never said that I hate trans people. I just think trans people should be banned from sports." Is like it's the classic go-to of, like, in my mind, racists, because you can find, like, I've encountered these people while doing my debates and my show and stuff like that, who are like, "Well, I'm not racist. I just think we should have an white only ethno state." And it's like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right."
Yeah. That's lovely. All right. Well, thanks for that little bit of information.
Yeah.
That yeah, that's wild.
I
Um
guess my position is, yeah, yeet those bigots.
yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Yeah. I mean, why is it the way this is? I hate
Right?
it. Ugh, it's so bad. I know Lux is screening a call right now. But if you could put it back to the main screen. Oh, wow. Look at that multitasking. Incredible.
Yeah. Excellent.
Um, all
Look,
right.
look, we can see people coming into our chat. I get people in my chat all the time, telling me that, like, being trans is insane. Oh, why, like, what degeneracy? You shouldn't be allowed to exist. You're spreading mental degeneracy. Like, where all those people suddenly evaporate when there's a call-in show where you could come in and make those arguments to us. You
Well,
could call in.
they don't want to spread their mental degeneracy because that's
Oh, they're being considerate.
they're
Of
being
course.
considerate of spreading their own mental degeneracy when they don't call in. So I guess they're all sparing us,
Yeah.
which is
But like seriously, like, come on, transphobes. Y'all are so loud all the time. Call in. Like, see, you're so confident about your terrible ideas all day, every day. You're like, "Oh, I got banned for stating facts." Call in. Call in and state your facts. Let's do this thing. Come on. We're here. We're ready to rumble. And also, we're gonna be nice about it if you're relatively civil with us.
That's right. So speaking of civil, let's take Jason, he, him, from Illinois. wants to talk about overt egg posting. So let's talk about it. You're live with Jack and Josie.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
Hi. Good
Doing
to
all
see.
right.
Good to hear you.
Well, I don't know. I've been thinking about this for a little while, and this is like the first day I've been able to call in. First of all, you guys are awesome. Been watching for a while.
Oh,
Thank you.
thanks.
Um, and I have always tried to be like a pretty good ally, as far as LGBT, trans, everything. And just recently, I've kind of been thinking about like playing back some things in my mind, in the past stuff. Just going, I'm wondering like where the dividing line is, like should I be thinking about if I am secretly an egg, or if I'm just very empathic and you know trying to understand trans things. I don't know, kind of nervous. So
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. Like I would say one, it never hurts to question your own identity and see like what's up. Like I know cis
mhm.
men who have been like, questioned and then they're like, nah, I'm definitely a cis dude. And then they go about their lives, cis duding around. And I've also known people who are like, I am questioning my gender identity, and I don't know that that makes me like a binary trans person, but maybe I'm like some kind of non-binary, and like they're open to that and they like slowly explore it. And it's the kind of thing where, being open, I think, is healthy to that possibility. And it really, I think, comes down to what do you want? Which is a big question. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and just to clarify, I said egg posting. If you are new to the channel or never heard this terminology, the
Oh yeah.
terminology of egg in the trans community means that you are pre-trans. So you are going to hatch out of your egg and then come out as a trans person. It's definitely terminology that is used deeply within the community. So I just kind of wanted to say that. So Jason, am I safe to say, and so I can clarify and be completely accurate in the call, are you thinking you might be an egg?
Possibly. I mean,
Possibly.
yeah.
Okay.
It's so it's kind of one of these things where like if we had like the magic ability to just like you know overnight poof change full phenotypic gender expression, all that kind of stuff, like sure I'd be down, but like
But you can't
one
change
it
it.
would.
But you can't take it back though. Let's say let's make sure that the analogy is correct.
and
You press the button
and
and it's
and
permanent.
yeah, so like the ability to switch back and forth, awesome. The ability to do it one time, I'm still not, it's still not a
Yeah.
complete no. So I don't know, like
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
so
No.
so I'm curious on the idea of the idea of transition stuff, but also like I'm 40 years old. I've been this way my entire life. I've been
Mhm.
man, male my whole life. And to have kids, all this stuff. To be honest, like if I don't, it's not gonna. I'm okay with being how I am right now. You know what I mean? Like for the sake of continuing on. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well,
But
also you
if
don't have
given
to
the
rush
opportunity
anything.
well, true. I mean, maybe that's another thing that I deal with is impending the future and all this kind of stuff. But that's a whole nother story. But
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jason, I transitioned at 34 years old, 10 years before your age.
Hmm.
And so I had a lot of the same feelings. I served in the Navy. I was like an amateur bodybuilder for a while when I was in there. I had an entire career, as like a political career, before I transitioned as well. I had this whole thing. I did this and I had all these things, and I was like thinking, I was like, well, but the thing is like the thing that kind of helped me tip me over the edge a little bit is people who are cis don't think about transing like don't think about being trans. Like they don't honestly,
I
like most they
and
don't.
I think I would add like a slight qualifier to that, which is that when they do think about it, it's kind of like, yeah, I would be a girl for a day. I could touch a lot. I could touch my own boobs, and like for me, that generated so much confusion because I was like, oh yeah, every guy thinks about wanting to be a woman and is constantly sad about it
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
They constantly wonder about not being men and want to be anything other than that. And then I found out, in my late 20s, oh wait, that's absolutely not true. That is not the
Yeah.
case for cisgender men.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was another thing as well, is exactly what Jack said. Like the understanding of being a woman and just like being a woman for a moment to experience the very few sexual things that are involved with it. That was something like for me, it's like, no, I wanted to, like always and am a woman that wanted to be a woman in society and deal with all the things good and bad of being a woman. And so there's a lot of that involved. I think that because I also am somebody who studies a lot, I also would catch myself spiraling into rabbit holes of like going through step by step, like, okay, if I do this, would it be like this? Or how would I do it? Or would I do this? Or how would it be in a year? And just like playing out the scenarios until I essentially was going crazy with gender dysphoria, where it was just like, okay, I've thought about it a million and a half times. How often do I have to think about this? Like at 30 years old, I was like watching vocal feminization videos just in case though. I would actually like do that. I was always fascinated with vocal feminization training, and I was like, yeah, that's something total like non-voice acting cis men do, like, and so yeah, it's something that you're gonna have to like think about often. And may I ask, Jason, how long
Hmm.
have you had this wandering thought?
So that's the interesting part is the more that I've kind of like listened to y'all and kind of done a little bit of research on my own and kind of look back at things in my past. Like I remember in like grade school, there were times when like being young and like not having an idea like what kind of feelings you're feeling. Looking back into stuff now with like an adult lens, there would be times when like I'm looking at like other girls, and I guess maybe it's more of
Yeah,
like a jealousy sort of thing.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. I don't
No,
know. I don't.
I, I
Like
always,
I'm looking at it from like decades, into
yeah,
decades into the past, so it's a little fuzzy. But like, just
Hmm.
the kind of the vibe that I kind of remember on some of these things. I'm like, what is this feeling? It's like, oh,
yeah.
is it kind of
Yeah.
jealousy? I don't know. So,
I
And
remember I remember a particular story that when I looked back, because you can only look back when you're an adult and think about all the times I there is something that was very similar to that for me. Like when girls would see something cute in the classroom, they would like in almost unison go, "Oh," and I would get so annoyed that I couldn't participate in that. And like I would be, so for me, like the oh, like that sound is so euphoric for me when I do it. When I see cute things, I'm like, oh, it's a cutie. Like that thing that I do, that is like so euphoric for me because it's something that I was always felt like I couldn't do. But that's a very small example.
Well, that's
Yeah.
something that I do currently. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and like when I said at the beginning, it depends on what you want. Like it might be that as you kind of question yourself more and more and like try and figure out what you actually want, maybe it's not like a full like transition to like from like cis man to like trans woman. Maybe it's like some binary, and so like or non-binary rather. And like
Mhm.
I know several people like I went to college with who wound up, coming out as non-binary, and like they didn't really get like full on, HRT or surgery. Some of them got HRT but didn't get surgery. Some of them, it mileage may vary. And so like it really comes down to just examining what you want and recognizing that there is a pathway to get there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, non-binariness is something that I personally haven't really looked at because I kind of don't fully understand it, but like I respect it.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah.
choice. That feel free to do what they do, but like I always kind of looked as more of the binary side of things.
Yeah.
But I don't
Yeah.
know.
I know exactly what you mean, Jason.
Makes sense to me.
I was like non-binary for like a total of a day because like I was like, oh, maybe, and then I was like, nope, that's what it is. There's like it was like instantly, like it was like super fast.
Mhm.
Jason, I will say this. One of the things that I did for myself I did, it was personal, it was private, it's something that I did for myself just to kind of just see, is I shaved my legs. And that one moment where I like saw myself like from the waist down, like, with my legs shaved, right? Like just wearing shorts.
Mhm.
It was like that moment was like, oh, like there was like it was such a light bulb that could not turn off at that moment. I was like, oh, this makes me too happy. Like this is what gender euphoria is. And it was like it was something like that actually like helped me like tip the scales. And then once I started going down that road, it was having to meet other trans people in person and people who were, I went to community groups. Like there was this trans support group at my local LGBTQ center. And I went in there. It took me like an hour to get out of my car to go inside because I was like so scared. And I went in there and everybody just respected me. And it was like one of the things that I was able to hear other people's stories, and there were people within all different levels of transition, from people who have been, the clinician who's been trans for decades to like the person who's been out for like a week, and everybody in between. And it was so important to be with people who would just see me how I wanted to be seen. And that's the moment that kind of like solidified everything. And so there's no harm in like finding a friend that would be willing to say she, her, or use a name that you're willing to do. And you just gotta feel it. You just gotta feel what it feels like to have your name and pronouns that you feel more comfortable with, to be able to kind of be like, oh, I like this a lot. Like this feels so right in a way that can't be explained. And just let yourself be with it. Like it's never too late.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and then there's also a great web there's like a it's an app on your it's called Thread Up. I swear they should pay me for how much I bring this app up. But basically it's called Thread Up. It's basically an online consignment store for like it's a thrift store, but basically online. And you can just go through and get really cheap clothes that is low stakes. Like you can just get it delivered right to your house and you could just try things on to see how they fit on you and just like be with it and just deal with it and have it. And then, so you don't have to go outside, you don't have to do any of that. You can just see what it's like. Because I think that's the thing that got me the most was the curiosity of the what if. And once I was able to step past the what if to the do was the moment I was like, oh, well, this just feels right. Like it was just how it
Mm.
was, you
Yeah.
know.
It's one of those things where like it's okay to not know fully what you want. Some people don't know that right from the jump. Like I didn't know when I was like first starting out being open to exploring my gender identity because I closed that part off to myself for so long. And I went through a phase where I identified as non-binary because I was trying to figure something out. I was just like, well, I know I'm not cis. Like I know that much. And
Mhm.
I experimented with presentation, I experimented with multiple different names, and not everything that you try may work for you, but like that's just you figuring out what you actually want, and that's actually a beautiful thing to know what you finally
Okay.
want fully and to go for it. And it's okay to not know right at the jump. Um, and you can try. It's also okay to try something and be like, "That's not for me."
Yeah.
There was a time where I was like, "Oh, I'll try the name Jane," and I was just like, "Nope, don't like that.
I
Not
tried
not for
Olivia.
me."
Nope, not an Olivia. Nope. Love Olivia's, but not for me.
I do have, so I've played like like RPGs, pen and paper stuff like that, and I do have the occasional like female character that I have played before,
Yeah.
and I do have
Yeah.
like a running like a persona between like all the systems and stuff and name and everything. So
Hell
I'm
yeah.
Yeah.
guessing I'm probably a little more into this than I had originally thought. So
Maybe.
I guess I
Maybe.
had two. I was gonna say I had two points or questions, I guess, and then I'll let you guys kind of get on once you answer them, unless you
Sure.
get more stuff for me. But the one you did kind of answer with the thread up, but like, is there any kind of like stealthy sort of thing to me to kind of try out? Like I tried letting my nails grow out a little bit, not painting them or anything like that, and honestly, it wasn't great. But also, I didn't do any care. Like I just was like, I'm just gonna let my nails grow out,
Mm.
and
Hold on,
it
I'll
was
be right
kind
back.
of
I'll show you.
it was a little frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm not on. I can't see the video right now, but
Yeah.
I'll
No,
watch back later. But
yeah, it seems to me like yeah, like leg shaving is something that can be relatively, low stakes. Honestly, painting your nails is pretty low stakes too. And I think there's something special about
Just
the act of caring for yourself in a more
yes.
affirming way, you
That's what I
know?
was gonna say. Like, file your nails. Like, I got this really nice nail file. It's Czechs glass. It's like from Czechoslovakia. But basically, like, if you just shape your nails and just like shape them, like, just sit there and just like shape your nails and just sit there and clean them and just like give yourself like a little bit of nail hygiene, you'll look at your hand and you'll be like, whoa, I really like the way my nails look. And you don't even need to use any type of anything. And then if somebody asks you, it's like, oh wow, your nails look really nice. It's like, oh yeah, I just take care of them. Right? There's nothing wrong with like taking
mm,
care of your nails. And just grow them out and then you can get them nice and round. And when you do, you get a nice shape to your nail. And I need to file mine a little more. But basically like, it's something that you can do for yourself that is something that is I would say, kind of, I wouldn't say nail hygiene is feminine, but unfortunately it kind of is. I don't know why that is, but it is. But doing
Because
that
the
or
patriarchy or something.
yeah, I know, right? Of course. It's like apparently men have to have dirty nails. It's weird and I don't like it. But basically like, just do something like that. I think that would be good for you to just like, just start doing little things, that,
Yeah,
grow your hair out a little bit. Like, you don't have to tell anybody why you're growing your hair out. Like, it's just
yeah,
like, oh, I'm doing it because I like it, right? And
yeah.
so,
No, that's
so like little
that
things.
is one of the stickier points. Is I am like patently bald, so
Oh, well. Get
and
it,
that's
get it, get it.
honestly like so. Since we are all kind of being honest right now, like that is kind of one of the biggest detractors for me, like going farther into it, and I think it's what kind of really slowed me down. Is there's not much up there to mess around with. So
I know many trans women that have gone through balding that have either incredible like wig game, like their wig game is on point, and I'm just like, damn, you get to wear all different kinds of hairstyles all the time. Like you like play it up. Like, it's like one day you could come out with like silvery hair, the other day you can have like more of a curl. Like you could do all kinds of really cool things with wigs, and I've
mm,
seen women pull it off so well. Or, if you have wealth and you have some money, you could also do hair transplants. I've also seen some trans women go through the hair transplant process and it works out really well for them as well. And so there's a lot of little things that you can do that could help you with that type of stuff. Like we live in, the 21st century. Like, wigs look incredibly good. In fact, I know a lot of cis women that have full heads of hair that prefer wigs. Like they prefer them because they like the versatility of them and can completely do different styles with very little effort. So don't let things like that, because cis women do it all the time too, right?
And
And there's
mm,
also
okay.
cis women that have baldness as well. But go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to add one, depending on your situation, obviously, we can't, we don't see you, but like, HRT can, to some degree, reverse balding or certain degrees of baldness. And also, there is it's 2026, and like bald people, whether cis or trans, like it can be a good look. Like you can like there are bald cis women
Yeah.
and like who own that look and like look cool.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things that you can do. So don't let things like that stop you. Like,
Yeah.
because it just becomes more another excuse to your happiness. And it's really easy to fall down that road of like, oh, maybe it's just not for me. But honestly, it's like don't give up until you give it a shot. Like, there are different things you can do, and check out your local LGBTQ center. Maybe they have some wigs in stock that they can give you, right? Like there's a lot of gender affirming organizations out there that are there to support people going through their journey. And even if you're just doing one to try on, go to a wig shop and just try it on and see how you feel. That's just maybe another thing you could
Mm,
do, so
okay.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I guess the
Just
other the other question I had and I'll real quick because I know I've been here for a while, but is given how I've been talking, I do have some acquaintances, coworkers, and some old friends and stuff who have transitioned. I haven't really talked to anybody because like I don't want to embarrass myself and I don't want to like sound rude or any of that stuff. But given the way I'm trying to like figure stuff out, should I be worried about like asking somebody and like being offensive or anything like that? Like,
No.
I don't think so. Like we've
Mm-mm.
all gone through, like all trans people have gone through similar experiences, and it never
mm,
hurts to ask, because like honestly, a lot of trans folks, we're we would love to have more people in our lives who understand what we've gone through. if anything, I would say it would probably bring you closer to those friends and acquaintances.
Yep. I remember a conversation I had with a dear friend when I was back in San Diego, and she was a fairly known trans woman at the time in the political spaces out there. And I remember having coffee with her, and I remember very like nonchalantly, I didn't even realize I did this. I was like, yeah, I'd probably be trans if I was like 10 years older, but I feel like that ship has sailed for me, so I guess I'm just gonna have to deal with it. Kind of like how you started this call. And she was like, "Oh, okay, okay." She was actually one of the first trans women I came out to later, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I was just waiting for you. I knew you were gonna come out eventually." And I was like, "Oh shit, okay." It's like, and she was just like, "Oh yeah, the way you said that was so clear and obvious. It was so funny to me." She goes, so she actually went home and laughed about the fact that I was so obviously trans and in denial about it that it was kind of funny to her. And so yeah, it's so no, go and have lunch with a friend that is trans and tell them how you feel, and they'll probably be like, "Oh girl, let me tell you about it." So yeah, so awesome. Well, thank you for the call. It was nice.
I
I hope
I
this was helpful.
appreciate you've been helpful and difficult all at the same time, but a good kind
I
of difficult
bet.
Yeah,
because now I got a
I
lot more
bet.
understandable.
things to think about.
Of
Yeah.
course. And hey, maybe if you try these things out, you may be like, "Oh, this isn't for me." And then you'll know either way.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
game of the what
well,
if is a very dangerous game. What if can drive you crazy. And
good,
so just
very
just
true.
get some of those what ifs away, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Awesome. Let
appreciate
us
it.
know if you come up to anything. If you
Have a great
figure
thing.
anything out, let us know.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Bye.
will.
All
All right, thank
right.
you. Bye.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, those
That
calls are
was
kind of cathartic.
that was
Yeah.
delightful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I wish,
Exactly.
yeah. Hope that all
I
works out well.
somebody in the chat said it's like Josie, 10 years ago, where were you 10 years ago? I was like, yeah, where was I 10 years ago? I wish I had that conversation with myself 10 years ago. That would have been real
Right?
nice.
Wouldn't that have been
I re
sweet?
Yeah, it would have been great. And like, I don't know if this was like this for you, Jack, but when I was first like thinking about, transition and stuff, like YouTube was like so important for me to kind of like see other trans women's like experiences and seeing people's transition videos. Nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, it's
I've
true.
noticed that like nobody like all the like transition videos have kind of gone out of style.
Well, it's
But
also it's also I think like so many the level of like hatred online has
yeah,
gone up so much. Like it's
yeah,
hard to just be like someone who's like, "Hi everybody, I'm sharing my experiences." And then
yeah.
like,
Yeah, and it was just like, come talk to me. I haven't done this trans thing. And and it was of course like Natalie Wynn classic,
yeah.
like before she went off the rails.
Yeah.
But like, there's like so many formative things that I remember, like it's like, yeah, that I watched that. There was like I like Samantha Lux was a big one. And when I
Oh
finally
yeah.
met her in person, I like told her that. I was like, girl, like you don't even know how important you were for me. It's like, but yeah, she's great. But there was just so many old, our trans young YouTubers that just live journaled their transitions, and I'm so grateful for them. And now most of them aren't even online because they got hate mongered off. Like
It's
it's just
exhausting.
it's exhausting. Yeah, absolutely. Great. So let's take our next caller. We have Jack, he, him from New Zealand, wants to talk about that disagreement is not bigotry. So you want to respond to our title that anti-trans is bigotry. So you are live on the line with Jack and Josie. Tell us about it. How are you, Jack?
Hi. Hi, how's it going? Yeah, I'm good. Um, Early morning here. Hope you. I don't know what time.
Yeah.
What time is it over with you guys?
For me, it's about 4:30.
And 3:30
Oh,
p.m.
lucky.
for
I
me.
just woke up.
Okay, well, thank you
Yeah,
for
so
having
I
your
woke up and
early morning with us.
I woke up and I saw the message, and then I wouldn't usually call in, but this is something I very commonly see because I try and engage with this conversation a lot and try and be informed. And yes, first I will say there are definitely bigoted people out there. I will acknowledge that there are bigoted, hateful people. But what I see happening a lot of the time in regards to this issue is genuine people who are trying to engage in this conversation and just state opinions or disagree with certain aspects of the trans movement and the trans issue are often labeled as bigoted just for disagreeing. I'm not actually sure what you mean when you say anti-trans is bigotry, but maybe you could clarify. But that's my position on this issue, is that just because somebody disagrees with you doesn't necessarily mean that they're hateful or they're bigoted, which often gets you labeled as a transphobe, even though you're not trying to be insulting or hateful.
Well, so I guess I would say, this is an argument that I hear often because I talk about far right politics, both here in the United States and around the world. And this is something that you actually hear a lot coming from people who belong to like white nationalist movements or other things like that. And I'm not saying you're part of one of those, but I'm giving this as an example to kind of illustrate what we mean here, which is that they'll say, well, I believe that, different races of people can't fundamentally coexist together, and that's why we need ethno-states. And that isn't coming from a place of hatred in my heart. That's just reality, right? And so they kind of shift the conversation for their own sake into like, I'm not a bigot. I don't hate black people. I just think, the reality is that white people and black people can't coexist together, and that black people are inherently, lesser than or incapable of living in harmony with other groups of people. That this is just kind of an example. And to a
No, I think
similar
that's way.
in
Sorry,
a
I just
similar
think the example you give is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Sorry,
giving an
carry on.
extreme I'm giving an extreme example to kind of illustrate the point, which is that oftentimes when we're talking about anti-trans being bigotry rather than just a difference of opinion, it's because the opinion that is being espoused is one that taken into a policy position and to its logical extent would eliminate trans people from society or make it impossible for trans
Well,
people to get the medical care that they need, right? And so that's why it tends to be labeled by folks like us as a type of bigotry, because it isn't just, oh, you like sponge cake, I don't like sponge cake. It's, oh, I think I have the right to exist in public, and other people think that I should be, policed by the state into the closet. And there's that's a pretty profound difference
no.
between an
That
opinion and like
that
policy.
that's yeah. Okay, so you're giving examples of things that I would consider to be bigotry.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily talking about things like that. So you're saying like you don't have a right to exist and you should go into a closet, right? I don't think that's just an opinion. Yes, I agree that would be bigotry. I'm talking about things more like underlying basic statements. Like somebody would, like, for example, take the statement trans women are women, right? That is a sentence that can be both true and false depending on how you define the word woman. And I don't agree that somebody defining woman in a way that you don't define makes them a bigot. For example, that's like the example I'll put out there, that I think, okay, some people define a woman as a biological female, somebody who is of the nature to get pregnant, someone with like a uterus, ovaries and a vagina. And I think, okay, fair enough. If somebody wants to define the word woman that way, they can, and I don't think it makes them a bigot for thinking that.
right. But when we're talking about how that then logically follows through a lot of the groups of people who make this kind of argument, about well, I just define woman differently than you, it doesn't end at, oh, we just have a slightly different definition of woman. It then follows through with how trans women should be treated in society, what places
Of course.
trans women should be allowed to go, what rights they have when it comes to seeking medical treatment. And so it's not just, oh, we have a slight disagreement, like you think we should be using, uh, this definition versus that definition. It doesn't just lay in the realm of semantics, it goes through into the realm of policy and how people are policed by the government, by their communities, etc. And so that's why it
Yeah.
then ties
So
into
you're
a
saying
broader discussion about bigotry.
well, no. Well, are you saying that people shouldn't be police on basic categories? Because I'm not. What I'm saying is that we need to agree. Like, society needs to come to some kind of an agreement on like what a woman is. Because, for example, you cannot have women's rights if you can't first define what a woman is. And if you can't define what a woman is, then the concept of a woman just goes out the window. Then you can't have female-only spaces, for example. Like, this is not
But you
just
see,
people disagreeing.
That's
It
a
actually does matter on
lot of,
something.
you made a lot of jumps there, Jack.
yeah.
You made a
So,
lot of jumps.
Okay.
but you also
Sorry.
see here how you're now you've now been like, well, it was really extreme of you to talk about, white supremacists, white nationalists. We're just talking about the definition of words, but then you're jumping into, well, maybe the government should be policing trans women in X, Y, and Z ways. And like,
I'm not
that's
saying
not,
trans
no,
women
but wait,
specifically.
let
I'm
me
just talking
finish.
people in general.
Let me finish my point, because that's not different from how people argued about what spaces, for example, African Americans should be allowed to inhabit in society, right? Because the entire basis of segregation in America was under the aegis and under the arguments of scientific racism, that there were fundamental differences between the races and they could not coexist in, say, the same bathroom, or at the same water fountains, or in the same restaurants. And so
I, I don't
now
agree
we're
with your
getting to a,
analogy. They're not the
but
same.
you're doing the same thing. You're like, well, but some people should be policed though. And like, that's, you're
Yeah,
trying to do it
yeah,
in
but
a
yeah. So
different category, but it's the same kind of mental, gymnastic that you're pulling.
it's not the same category. Like race
Well,
and
it's a
well,
different
I don't even want to
category,
call it
but
gender.
it's the same rhetorical, maneuver.
Okay, so fair enough. I'll accept what you're saying. Like I'm putting in some kind of category and a framework in order to differentiate different people into different groups. That Yes, that is what I'm doing. And are you
Yeah.
saying that we shouldn't do that at all?
What I'm saying is,
So
what I'm saying is, when you adopt the framing that you are doing and the attempted redefinition of what a woman is, you are
well, I'm not saying that
implicitly
my
then
framing is correct.
accepting.
I'm saying that
Yeah. And that's, I'm saying
what
your
I'm saying
framing
is we
is
need a framing,
incorrect.
and we need no. What I'm yeah, okay, that's fine. So you're allowed to disagree, and what I'm saying is that we need to define these things, and we need to draw a line somewhere. Like when it comes to what a woman is, I actually do think that we need to gatekeep that position. Like there is such a thing, and I'm not saying that trans women aren't women. I'm saying that we need to come up with a definition that functionally works. And we can say,
we have
for example,
one.
myself,
We have
I'm very
one.
much a man.
But
Okay,
wait, like, you
let's
don't
hear
need
it.
to give
What is it?
you don't need to give an example. Like, we have a trans inclusive definition of woman, which is that, woman is like a socially constructed category that people identify as. And like, that's
Okay, well, I
it. So,
disagree.
and this,
Am I a bigot for that?
right. And that's kind of where we're like, well, your disagreement then then has knock-on effects that are bigoted. It's why the disagreement is framed as anti-trans is bigotry, because the logical extension of your belief systems around this definition impales the subjugation and oppression of trans people. And you just think that that's, I mean, presumably from your position of, society must police these categories. you just think that that's justified.
Well, yeah, like for example,
Yeah.
I'm a man. I'm very much a man. I look like a man. I'm male. If I walked into the women's bathroom or the women's changing room, there'd be problems, right? Everybody would be super uncomfortable with that because I'm
Because
clearly
you're a
not
man.
supposed to be in there.
Because you're a man.
Yeah, but I'm a
You
man, and
declared
I'm
that. You
yeah, of
declared
course.
that about
But I'm
yourself.
I'm
You're
a
a
man.
man going into a
Yeah,
woman's space. Of course we'd be uncomfortable with that. I would be uncomfortable with that, Jack. Like if I was
but
in
the point is,
the woman's changing room and I'm sitting there doing that and you're just like, I'm a man walking in here. I'm a male. I'm a man. Look at me. Like I'm gonna be like, dude, this guy is weird. Get him out of here. This is making me uncomfortable.
well, no, I wouldn't walk in there stating it. I'm just making the point. I'm just referencing in case it wasn't obvious.
Well, no,
Right? So, like, would there
the
be a problem
important
with that?
part is that you identify as a man. That's the point.
Well, I
Because you
don't
literally
really
said that at the
identify as a man.
beginning
I
of the
am a man.
sentence. Exactly. I am a woman. So there we go. It's the identification. You're demonstrating what gender identity is with that statement.
Correct. Yes, I'm identifying what identity is, but my
Yes, you are a man.
identity is
I
not.
am a woman. So it's the same thing. We're doing the
I
same
haven't
thing,
actually.
Jack.
Great. I haven't actually got to the point I was trying to make in
Okay.
that initial
Go ahead.
statement because I think
Go ahead. I was just
um,
demonstrating what
so
gender
that
identity was because that's what you just demonstrated when you said you were a man.
I understand it's like a statement. But anyway, we can come back to this. But my point was I'm not just a man simply because I say I am. Like I'm a
So
man
am I
because I
not
fit
supposed to
into a
believe
certain
you?
criteria of definition.
So I'm just supposed to believe you when you say when you so I'm not supposed to believe you when you say you're a man.
Yeah, where's your
I mean,
credentials?
Like how am I
my
supposed to now
credentials.
using your definition and by
Yeah,
using your
using
definition, Jack, I can no longer say you're a man because you saying you're a man is no longer enough for me to be able to identify that you're a man.
Oh yeah, like yeah.
Yeah, you just ruined the
Essentially,
utility
in
of the
this
word.
situation, you'd have to take you'd
Exactly.
have
You
to take my
ruined the
word for it.
utility.
Like
Exactly. That's exactly how we deal with everything. If you were to tell me you were a soccer fan, I would just have to take your word for it. I'm not going to ask you to prove
all
it.
right. All right, let me backtrack. Can I please just make the point I was actually originally trying to make?
I was just trying to
I
say
am in.
this, so the utility of it. I was demonstrating the utility
Yeah, okay,
of the identity because the utility of you saying you're a man identifies to me that you identify as a man.
correct. At least, however I see a man to be, I think I am that based on my definition. Right.
right, which
So,
would be your gender
but I'm
identity.
the point that I was trying to get at is I'm a man, and according to both of us, even by my own definition of like the biological definition and by the social role expression type definition, I am both a man in both of these categories. So under no circumstance, even by my
So
own
which one is
perspective
more
and your
inclusive?
perspective, would it
So which one is more
would
inclusive?
what
So if our definition includes you in both my view of a man and your view of a man, but your definition doesn't include my definition of woman and your definition of woman, which one is more inclusive?
which one is more inclusive?
Is it my definition that includes you? Or is it your
Well,
definition that includes you only
you're asking
because
the wrong
you?
question. No, you're asking the wrong question. It's not necessarily whether it because you've done a bit of a bait and switch here with your question because what I, according to me, according to my own position, um, these things are not subjective. They're like because I define it in a certain way, so it's objective. So it's not an identity or a feeling or an expression or even performing a social role. These things are not the defining factors of what makes someone male or female to me. And
Well,
No,
like,
male and
male
if you
and
want
female
me to
is
answer the
female,
different.
question, yes,
Male and
yours
female are
is,
sex. We're not
huh?
talking about sex. We're talking about gender.
sex
Male
and
and
gender.
Yes,
female are
but
sex,
that's the,
but not gender.
yes, that's what I'm talking about. I'm yeah, I understand that, but what I'm saying is when it comes to man and woman, those are the only defining factors, male and female, according to most people
No.
actually.
Let's actually test this real quick. Let's test this. I have a great way to test this. Okay. Are you familiar with the hit children's television show Thomas the Tank Engine?
I am, yes.
Okay. And the titular character of the show, Thomas the Tank Engine, would you say that Thomas the Tank Engine is like a boy train?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, is that because of Thomas the Tank Engine's like sex?
No, definitely not. I think what somebody's done is
you said what makes you said what makes someone or a character, for example, a man or a woman, is sex. So are you trying to say that in the context of this, like somehow Thomas the Tank Engine has the sexual characteristics of a male train?
Of course not. I
Yeah,
think
so
in this case,
wait. So what you are
characters.
now applying to Thomas the Tank Engine, the character, is gender identity, not sex. You see, now these are two different things, right?
No, we're not disagreeing on this. I agree that gender identity
it's literally at odds with the definition you just gave a handful of seconds ago to Josie.
Yeah, but I wasn't defining gender. I was defining man and woman.
Which is gender identity.
Man and woman. Thomas the Tank Engine is a man, which is a gender.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree that is what it is.
So Thomas has a penis or balls or both?
No, like there are certain traits which
I'm sorry, why can children watch Thomas the Tank Engine and understand that Thomas the Tank Engine is a boy / man? But you can't as a grown adult.
Because there are stereotypical traits which align with male and female. Males tend to behave in stereotypical ways.
That's called gender identity, which you admit that Thomas the Tank Engine has. And a child would say, of course, Thomas the Tank Engine is a boy. Because he's gendered as a boy train.
Yeah, I agree, but I wouldn't say
that's the gender
Thomas
identity.
Yeah, I understand that. I get that. But
how can you understand that for a children's television show, but not for actual, honest-to-God human beings?
Look, if I was to all of a sudden start feeling really feminine and feel like a woman and express myself like a woman, that wouldn't change the reality. In fact,
do you?
Let's do.
Do you have that desire, Jack? Do you have that desire?
No, but even if I did,
then you don't. Then you don't. But so therefore, you're not a woman. I literally genuinely just asked you. So why is you no, the reason you're not a woman is because you just said you're not a woman.
Yeah, we aren't looking at your credentials, dude.
Because I'm not of the nature to get pregnant.
How do we know that?
See, we can
prove that to us, Jack. Prove that to us.
Well,
see. Oh,
so exactly.
What are we using to actually identify you here? Is it your sex?
You're going to have to take my word for it in this case.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's because these are two different things we're talking about. Sex and gender identity are two different things.
Yeah. So Jack, here, let me try another example outside of Thomas the Tank Engine with as well. So do you realize that gender identity and the gender expression has shifted over civilization, correct? So you would say, 100 years ago, men and women showed up differently in society. Would you agree with that point?
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of leans into my opinion and the point I was trying to make.
let me finish this point. Okay, so the social construction of gender, right? Because we agree that gender is a social construction, and at least in my point of view, you believe it's a biologically essential thing. I believe it's a social construction.
No,
Would you
I
agree with
agree with
that
you.
statement?
No, I also agree that
So, so what?
what
So
you would
sex is
define
a
as
social
gender
construction?
is a social construction.
So wait, wait,
No,
wait, wait. But you said that sex and gender are the same. But now you're saying it's a social construction,
no, I
which
didn't.
is not
No, I
sex.
didn't. No, I'm saying no.
You said
I
you said a
agree. There,
male. You said a male is a man and a female is a woman. So you conflated gender and
correct.
sex in
By my
that
definition.
statement. Yes.
No,
So do
what I'm saying is
you believe that gender identity is a social construction? Yes or no?
yes, I do.
So
I
now
believe it is
we
a
have a
social construction.
conflicting so now we have a confliction of what you just said. You said in one hand it is connected to sex, and then on the other hand it's also a social construction.
No, what I'm saying is the words man and woman can be defined in different ways, and some people define them as this thing that you're describing, and some people define these words
So
as the
do
thing
you
that I'm
believe
describing.
so Jack, I'm asking you a simple question because you're kind of waffling here. You said that gender is a social construction. Is that something you believe? Yes or no?
What do you mean by gender? You mean expression? You mean how
No,
people
I'm being
present themselves
gender
and identify?
identity. I mean gender identity. The expression is another thing that is usually involved with gender, but doesn't always necessarily comport. Like, so for example, a
So,
tomboy,
so
a
simply,
woman who dresses as a masculine person, is a different is a person who identifies as a woman that is expressing masculine. That is something that exists in reality. So I am talking about the gender identity. So man and woman in this particular case, is that a social construction? Yes or no?
you mean, sorry, just to clarify, you mean somebody stating or choosing to identify as this thing
As the
is a
group
social
and the
construct.
category of woman or the category or group of man.
Ah, no. Then in that case, no. I don't think it's a social
So it's not
construction.
a
I
social
think it's a
construction.
physical reality. No.
So it's a biological essentialist point of view.
Well, that's where you're trying to, yeah, by some people's definition, by some
But
people,
is it
they
your
define the
definition, Jack?
word
I'm
in
not
that way.
talking about other people. I'm having a
Yeah,
conversation with
yes, yes,
you.
it is. Yes.
Okay, all
Yes,
right.
that
So
to me, if you ask me what a woman is or a man is, that's what I would say it is. It is
yes.
grounded in a physical, biological reality.
Yes, so it's a biological essentialist point of view. Okay. That's what I was.
Yes.
I'm not trying to trick you, Jack. I'm not. I'm just trying to get your point of view.
No,
And
fair enough.
because
We need to clarify that point because I wasn't certain on what you were saying either. But yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
okay, your point of view is a biological essentialist point of view that gender is strictly linked with sex. So does that now mean
No,
that
not
you do
gender.
not believe I I literally said it. Okay, Jack, I just want to be clear. Do you believe
Okay, so
that gender is biologically essential to the sex of a
here's the problem. You
person?
see, because here's the problem. You see, because when a lot of people say gender, what they mean is how people express themselves and how they feel, and what they usually mean is something
I'm,
equivalent to like masculine and feminine, and
I'm
that's
not
not what I
talking about
mean.
that, Jack. I know that's why I'm
Okay,
clarifying it, Jack. I literally just
okay,
said to you that there are women who are masculine presenting, and they're called tomboys, and it's something that exists, or butch women. Those are
yep.
expressions, but they still identify as women, right? So I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about the identity of woman right now. So you believe,
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
just
So
trying
yeah,
to be, the identity of
yeah, okay.
woman
Yeah,
is
I
a
can answer it.
biologically
I get your,
essential. Okay,
yeah, I get
do
your
we get it?
question. So yeah, so I would say that somebody cannot simply be something just by identifying as it. There are underlying factors or descriptors.
Okay,
or
I don't care about
determinants
the
which
underlying
determine
description.
whether
I don't
somebody
care about any of it because for me that always turns into a really annoying, boring conversation. I'm talking about you specifically think there is a biologically essential thing that makes a person their gender identity. Yes or no?
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted, Jack. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm just trying to get where you are so I can then go on with this conversation. So now that you've said that, do you believe that gender identity, so you do not believe that gender identity is a social construct?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. So that clears things up. So, can you explain to me what is the biological essential thing that has made men and women show up different in society over the last millennia? So, like, for example, men that were like, riding horses but wearing high heels and things like that. So, like, the category of men who identified as men that chose to faint on couches and wore the color pink because they saw it as very manly. What is the biological essential thing that made men change over time?
Well, there isn't. It's in your wording. You said made men show up in society in this way, meaning they express themselves in society this way. And what I'm saying
But they
is
identified
expression
with
is
a
not
group, right?
what makes.
But
Yeah,
they identified as a group, right? So would you think that men as an identity group themselves with other men who identify as the men identity, regardless of their
yeah.
expression? Yes or no? Okay. Okay,
Well,
great.
it would be the fact that they are of the nature to father children and often father children and often produce children of their
So,
own in that manner.
but the thing is, like
Both biological, remember? So
the grouping of men, the category of men that existed through time, what was the thing that biologically made them shift how they showed up in society as an identity group?
how they shift, I don't know, like not
Because
biological,
sometimes
how they
those
express
men,
themselves.
sometimes those men were caretakers in certain societies. Maybe they weren't the hunters. There was plenty of societies where women who identify as women went and did the hunting because the men were perceived as stronger in society, so they needed to protect the children. There have been societies where, all of these different things that men as an identity showed up in different ways in society. So why are they going against their biological nature then?
Well, sometimes they do. There are exceptions to the rules. Sometimes there are
So are you
women that
saying the
do
men of ancient
jobs.
time weren't really men and there were more women?
In what aspect?
In the aspect
You,
of like the
you,
way
you
men
mean
are
like
seen
in some?
now, because the way men are
You
seen
mean in
now
some
is they're the
cases men were
breadwinners.
caretakers?
Yeah, so were they women in
Yeah. Well,
society back then
no.
and not
Again, you're,
men
you're
because they
talking
were
about
going against their
you're
biological programming?
you're talking about again, you're talking about a behavior or a social role or like something that
Social
is
roles.
an act that
Yes.
somebody performs. Yeah.
Social
So,
roles
and that,
as part of
and
their
again,
identity. It's part of their identity, right? The social roles, because
it's
if
something associated.
if you were born in antiquity of Rome, you would be having sex with other men because that was the thing that manly men did is they had sex with
Okay.
younger men. So you would be participating in that action because you were a part of the group of men.
Yes. All right. Yeah.
So
Well,
so
that's
what is
that's again
the
that's a
biological
social role.
thing? So you see what I'm doing right now,
Well, that's
Jack? You
not biological.
see what's happening?
Yeah,
You see what's
I see what you're
happening?
doing.
You see,
I
yeah. So
Yeah,
do
I
you
see what you're
understand
doing.
why gender identity shifts through the social construction of time?
I understand it, but you're exactly proving my point of what I'm trying to say is that this is a social construction that shifts over time, but the biology and the role that we
That's
play in reproduction doesn't.
That's why we're talking about sex and gender. That's why there are two different words to talk about
yes,
two different facets of human like existence.
experience. Yeah. So Jack, do you see why it's
Yeah.
important to separate sex and gender now?
no, I don't think. I get that they're two different things, but I
So
don't
is there
think
no
that.
utility for it, Jack? Because you realize how hard it was to
Of
have
course,
a
there's
conversation
utility.
about antiquity because we couldn't use the word gender because it had to be biologically essential to your argument.
Yeah, this
Also
is where we all
notice,
get so confused.
but notice how
Like,
much
Because
more
you chose
difficult.
it.
No,
You
your
chose that.
definition makes it exponentially harder to have this conversation with you because we couldn't even get past the whole, well, I'm a man because I have a penis and I have the biological
right.
reality of being a man. But we don't know that. We don't have evidence. None of the people watching have that evidence. And your definition precludes us from accepting you as a man, which is why we then have to fall back and use the definition you have acknowledged and which is also our definition, which is that gender is a separate thing that is related to how you identify
Yep.
because functionally that is how society works
Yep.
and it has more utility. And when we're talking about language, I have a degree in English literature, so I can speak to this a little bit, which is that word adoption and use is guided by utility. It's not guided by
Yeah, I
like
agree.
what so your definition has less utility even in the context of just this conversation with you without bringing in
Well,
any other
I don't
elements.
think it does. I
It
don't think it
does.
does have less
We
utility.
can't
Like,
believe your identity
let me
under
flip it
your
back on.
no. Wait. We can't believe your identity because your definition that you want other people to adopt and society to revolve around precludes us from accepting your definition until we see evidence of your biological reality. Until
Yeah, of
then,
course. And like,
we can't properly call you anything. In fact, I
so
could call you a liar right now. There'd be no way for you to actually defend yourself in this situation. And
yes,
I know for a fact,
that kind of goes into
I know
one
for a
thing is that yes,
fact,
you can be.
you do not go through life acting on your own definition as if it's real. You don't go around
No,
demanding
of
that your friends and
course not.
coworkers show their genitals to you or produce documented evidence from their doctors. You don't demand that from strangers you see in the bathroom. You don't do that at all in your daily life. Your definition has no utility here. And that's why it's frustrating to have this conversation with you because you continually assert that there is utility here and that that utility has existed the entire time. But then we show you evidence and you're like, no, that's not utility enough. It doesn't make any sense. Everyone should adopt my definition, and society should, in fact,
No, I'm not
engage in
saying
oppression
I'm not saying
along
I'm
that
correct.
definition. You are. That's the
What,
argument you called in to
like,
make. You called in to make
no, I'm
the
not.
argument
No,
that no, you called in to make the argument that adopting an anti-trans exclusionary definition of gender wasn't bigotry. And we're trying, and then you started as soon as we pointed out, hey, this is similar to other kinds of exclusionary bigoted policies. You were like, well, yeah, but society should be able to do that when it comes to trans people. And then when we
no.
pointed
Okay,
out
let
that
me.
does seem quite like bigotry, you were like, well, no, you see, because it's this definition, this biological essentialist definition, is actually just the one that has always been true forever, always in all societies. And then Josie pointed out that that wasn't the case, that it was in fact socially constructed the entire time. And then you then fell back and just essentially go, no, it's not. And then I point out to you, hey, it's actually completely not useful to rely on gender as the same as sex when that's not what we're talking about or how you actually live your life. So you have come to us with an actively harmful definition that would be used to enforce bigoted policies that would preclude our ability to exist in public. And then you try to be cute about it by saying, oh, I'm
No, of
just
course not.
arguing
Look,
definitions. And I'm here to tell you this is no different from when white supremacists say, I'm not racist, I just think black people should be excluded from our society. It's not. You just think that your type of bigotry is justified along the flimsiest possible lines of of an unuseful way of defining terms. And I'm here to tell you that makes you both bad and also like kind of stupid because you're just talking us in circles at this point after having acknowledged our points. And so it's really frustrating because Josie's been so generous with her time to like try and walk you through step by step, and you've gone kicking and screaming the entire time to
No, I
fight
haven't.
against a definition that even goddamn children
you're doing a
understand.
gish gallop thing.
I'm muting you here. I'm not doing a gish gallop. I'm actually running through all of the arguments that have been made so far. And I'm trying to end on this point, which is that goddamn children who watch a show about an anthropomorphic talking train understand the concept better than you. And that's the issue here, right? Like you're being outmaneuvered mentally by children. And that's a problem for you. And you can say, oh, you're gish galloping. That's the argument that we laid out for you, and you acknowledged every step of the way, and you're still reverting back to your biological essentialist definition as if it's useful at all. So I'm going to unmute you here, but like, I don't really know where else we can go with this.
Okay, fair enough.
You are unmuted.
Hello?
Yes. We can hear you.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry, I wasn't saying anything,
okay.
but I didn't realize that I was muted. I thought you just hung up on me. My bad.
No,
no.
I said I'm muting you so I could finish my point because you were telling me to stop talking on the show that I co-host.
Okay. Yeah, I see we're not going to agree on this.
You agreed every step of the way.
So Jack, hold on one second. I'm just jumping in really fast, right? Because this is how I see this always going in these conversations, and you know our patience is always thin because these conversations always end this way. Because you said it at the beginning of this call about how we have two different definitions of the same of a thing that is you have a very narrow definition of woman and we have a very broad definition of woman, and because we have those different points of view, it has made this conversation infuriatingly pedantic because of the fact that that's how this usually goes. Yeah, so I just want to say this.
I have the same experience when people say things from the other side, and I'm like, but that's not what a woman is, or at least to me.
Yeah. So here's my I want to say the statement. You have a lawmaker. One thinks like me and the other one thinks like you. And let's put it into these terms. Would the lawmaker that thinks like you put higher, stricter laws in place for a trans woman to use the bathroom? Yes or no?
Yes, they would.
Okay. So in my world, in my point of view, would a trans woman be able to use a woman's bathroom? Yes or no? If it was a lawmaker on my side.
On your side? Yes. Yes, you would.
Okay. So I'm just gonna ask you a very simple question. Does the removal of a person from a space a form of segregation based on their characteristics?
Hold on. So
no, I'm asking a question, Jack. I'm just asking you a question. Segregating somebody from their space. No, it's not. I literally am asking. I know it's not because
I can rephrase this. No.
Okay, rephrase it then. Rephrase it then. Rephrase it.
Okay. Because keeping men out of the women's bathroom is not segregation. Well, I mean, it is segregation, but it's not discrimination.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say segregate. I didn't say discrimination, Jack. Okay, thank you. That's all I asked. That's all I asked, Jack. That's all I asked. Okay, great. You believe it's a form of segregation. That's all I asked. So your lawmaker in your scenario would agree with a form of segregation based on a person's characteristics. That's all I'm asking. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you go into historical record of civil rights law throughout all history has justices and judges and laws and legal frameworks, do they believe that segregation is just under the law for human rights?
Are you saying that we shouldn't have male and female bathrooms?
I'm fine with that too, but if we're going to apply that, if we're going to imply that,
Well,
it needs to be, it needs to be. You didn't answer my question.
Like you're comparing.
Does segregate?
Yeah, but you're trying to compare
I will answer. I will answer
segregation
your
of like
question.
races.
No. I'm talking about segregation is based on the immutable characteristics of a person and not allowing them to be in a space. That is segregation. We agreed on that. That is just that because there are immutable characteristics that a person can't change about themselves, and they're limiting their ability to go into that space is segregation. And I'm just talking about the body of judicial evidence of human rights. Most of them would agree segregation is wrong. Now, do you agree with that? And then I'll answer your next question that you had. Do you agree that most civil rights and historical context of human rights, segregation is generally seen as wrong and against human dignity?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. So what I am saying, and now I answer your second question, which I believe was men and women, you shouldn't have separate bathrooms. I'm saying you can have that, but you can't restrict a person from access to that category based on immutable characteristics. So therefore, a trans woman who is a part of the category of woman, who is a type of woman, a person who is done the things that make them the person that they are, removing them from the category of woman is separating them from the category that they are, which is woman. So therefore, it's not equal.
Okay,
therefore,
yeah. Okay. So I want to take this to a really messy place, but I'm not going to. So let's forget about definitions for now. Like I've got mine and you've got yours. We need some form of way of separating or determining what is a man and what is a woman. Because if we cannot do that, we cannot. Yeah,
yes,
but
I agree.
We have a disagreement on it, and that's the problem.
Well, yeah, one is segregation and one isn't.
Wait, also, your definition has been repeatedly shown to be not useful for that purpose because you've already admitted you don't use that when it comes to your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers. So, like, you've already admitted your definition doesn't have utility.
Yeah, you are segregating trans women from the category of women for which they belong. Where I am not doing that.
Because
are you not?
Well, okay.
With the bathroom example, are you not? Because we agreed that you said, yes, that's segregation, but you believe that segregation is justified. That's the difference. You believe that just a little bit of segregation, just a little bit as a treat, is okay for human rights and civil justice across the world. Based on this one thing.
Segregation of races and segregation. Sorry, say it again.
But segregation, it's not based on racism. I'm talking about segregation, which is based on an immutable characteristic. So that's why
segregation, which is based, well, in this case, yes. Well, in this case, it should be based on. And well, actually, no, I'm not saying that. Forget that. I don't actually think that. But
you are.
And on an immutable.
It's an immutable characteristic of somebody being born male or not. That is an immutable characteristic. That's something I do not have control over, but you're okay with discriminating against me, against my own group of people who I categorize with women because I am a type of woman.
Well,
you think that you have the right to segregate me from that class. Now, you are literally segregating me for something I can't change, which is an immutable characteristic, which is against my human rights.
No, that's not a human right. I mean,
I would also put in here that you are putting forward a system that would necessitate the policing of people's sex. Something that you have already admitted you don't personally do when it comes to interacting, again, with your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors, etc. But you want the government to get into the business of policing people's sexual, biology. And that opens the door to
absolutely
like
not. I would
some
not want that.
no,
So
but that's the
that's what you're
definition you
doing.
are putting forward. That's what you are saying when you're talking about the segregation.
So Jack, would you say normally in a situation that somebody who believes in segregation is typically considered a bigot in society?
Yes.
There we go. So that's why
Here's the thing I'm
anti-trans is
getting stuck on,
bigoted.
though.
So you see
No,
why?
here's
Do you
the
see
thing.
why
You're
that's
trying-
the initial the statement?
How is segregating bathrooms the same as segregating people on race?
Because that's what they used to do to people with race. They used to segregate bathrooms in regard to the race.
I'm a bigot because I believe in
Yes, I
segregation.
am okay with that as long as I have access to them.
Wait,
that's all I'm
Jack,
saying.
Do you think that bathrooms have always been segregated?
No, of course not. They became segregated because women were not comfortable sharing these spaces with men. Well, that was the main. It was one of the main priorities for it, because men are. Well, if I was a woman, I wouldn't want to share the bathroom space with a man either.
I don't share spaces with men either, Jack. When I go into a woman's bathroom, I'm typically there with just women, including myself and other trans women. That's fine. I'm not trying to say that men should go in there.
But you are aware.
Do you know
but
why
you are aware, though,
women
that some of those
did not
women
take
in
use?
there will not see you as a woman.
That's not true.
Number
You're
one,
wrong.
Not
you don't know me.
But do you know why women didn't use public restrooms when they became created?
No, fill me in.
It's because the dominant ideology of the time was that women weren't allowed to go outside unaccompanied.
That's right.
It was because there was this thing, and it still exists to this day, called the, spheres theory, that the woman's sphere was in the home and the man's sphere was outside of the house in public. And if a woman was to leave her sphere, she would need to be, escorted by a man. The reason that we segregated bathrooms is due to this ideology, one that is horribly outdated by today's standards. And want to point out, there's no magic force field around public bathrooms that prevents predatory men from going into public restrooms and doing illegal things. There's nothing that prevents that right now. The segregation of bathrooms isn't a magic force field that stops crime from happening. I think you would even acknowledge that, right?
But don't you think? Yeah, but don't you think?
Do you have any evidence that segregating bathrooms reduce it? Do you have any evidence that segregating bathrooms actually improves safety at all?
I wouldn't think so. No. I don't think it's
when you see a unisex bathroom, when you see a unisex, no, let me walk you through this. Let me walk you through this. When you see a unisex bathroom in, say, a grocery store, do you think to yourself, an unsafe space? Clearly, there's a lot of crime happening in this grocery store.
No, I don't think that.
No.
I also don't think that this.
Okay, so
we've
why
converged on this topic of bathrooms, and it's kind of gone off track with
because
what the
this is where it all started,
definitions.
Jack. Yeah, exactly. It's the definitions that started it. In 2016, North Carolina tried to pass a bathroom ban. That was the first time that it actually started to happen. And then once that happened, it opened up the floodgates for people to say, oh, let's not let men in bathrooms. And then now we have over 600 pieces of legislation, I'm talking about the United States right now, a year that are passed, sometimes up to 1,000 a year, that are trying to be legislated based on the definition of woman that is trying to take away people's rights to public spaces. And they are using your definition to do this. If you agree with it or not, there are people who are going on stages and saying, we need to eradicate trans people from public life. And they're using your argument to justify it.
So, so you're saying they're using that definition to sit to what was your wording?
Eradicate
Prevent
trans people from
oh,
public
human
space,
rights.
public
It's
life.
something to do with
From,
human rights, right?
yes.
Well, no, I don't. So, me personally, I'm a
So
huge believer in freedom of expression.
so
I think
whose
trans
side are you
people
on then, Jack?
existing is
So whose
well.
side are you
I'm
on?
pointing
Because they're
out that
using your arguments. They're
I'm
using
not
your
anybody's side.
arguments. They're using your arguments to justify the eradication of trans people in public life. That's literally what they're saying across the world. They're using your argument. So whose side are you on?
I don't think that's what they're doing.
That's
Like,
exactly what they're
if you
doing.
are a trans person, you haven't crossed that bridge. You haven't explained how that's happening. So if you're a trans person and you want to express yourself in a particular way and identify as a woman when you're otherwise male, like, I don't think anybody's saying you can't do that. I think what they're saying is that we need a framework or a category to define what gives people access to certain spaces.
Are you living under a
and
rock?
we have to base it on something.
You haven't seen the blatant bigotry across the world that are trying to eradicate trans people based on your argumentation?
Let me interject here. Let me interject. Let me interject, which is, so you're saying we should have categories of people to define who is allowed into what spaces, right?
What I'm saying is
just yes or no.
If we
just yes or no. I need a
category. I don't particularly
just
care
give
what
me
it is.
yes or no.
Okay. What was the question?
You are saying we need categories to define who is and is not allowed into certain spaces when it comes to men and women, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Cool. So what actually enforces that in your world?
Well, it can't be enforced. I'm saying that
it can actually. That's why there have been laws.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. It can be enforced, but the way in which we would have to enforce it is, I don't think, is just or dignified at all.
So why are you arguing for it?
Yeah, why are you making this argument?
I think that even if we cannot enforce it in a way that is dignified, doesn't mean that the definition or defining it is not important.
Okay, but
human death.
Wait, so far, Jack, you've put forward a definition. So far, you've put forward a definition of, sex and gender are the same thing, that you've acknowledged leads to negative policy outcomes when it comes to trans people and trans rights. And you've acknowledged that there's limited utility when you actually use that definition interpersonally with the people in your life, and you've acknowledged you don't use it with the people in your life. And you've also acknowledged that even in this very conversation, it's not useful to use that definition when we're talking with you. So it kind of seems like you are propping up a definition whose that sole utility is harming people and discriminating against people. And that if such a kind of discrimination were to be enforced, it would be uncivilized against human dignity, your words. And yet you still insist on using this definition.
Require, show me inside your pants.
Yeah, exactly. It would require bathroom police. The reason we started with anti-trans is bigotry is because the disagreement that you are saying is a difference of opinion on definition, the logical endpoint of that disagreement that you have repeatedly defended throughout this conversation is essentially that there should be some kind of violent or oppressive force aligned against trans people that drive us out of public life. And then when I asked you about a specific example of bathrooms, you actually couldn't provide any evidence whatsoever of any kind of danger. But I can, for example, provide evidence that when trans people go into the bathrooms that you would say they should go into, we are in danger. And that's why so many trans people, and you can look this up, statistically have higher
I have
rates
actually.
of
I'm familiar with these statistics.
have higher rates of infection when it comes to, their bladders. Because when these laws and when this discrimination that you are championing are normalized, what winds up, instead of if there is no formal policing, there is an informal policing. And that informal policing does
Leads to
demand
violence.
things like show us your boobs, show us your genitals, and then does often result in direct acts of violence against trans people.
And
And
people have
trans
died.
Yeah, and trans people know that. So rather than go and use the bathroom, we will give ourselves bladder infections that necessitate us being hospitalized rather than go out in public and use the bathroom. This is the kind of thing that in the real world has actual consequences. It's not just, oh, a difference of opinion. You like cake, I like ice cream. We have a difference of opinion. This is material to the actual oppression of trans people. And I just want to reiterate one more time, your definition so far in this conversation has only been useful in one category, and that is the oppression of people like us.
Yep. Segregation. You're okay with it.
Yeah, well, I am actually okay with segregation in this case.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this should necessarily be the criteria that we segregate by. So I'm open to having my mind changed on this definition, right?
Yes.
Huh? Bigotry.
Yes. Well, I mean, it is bigotry to believe that segregation is okay. I mean, that's kind of how it works, right? Like, because you're segregating a class against a class of person.
I don't think
Jack,
anybody who thinks that we should segregate bathroom spaces is a bigot. Let me just leave it at that.
That's not what the argument was it?
Yeah. Your argument is segregating a type of person. A type of person. That's what you're segregating against. A type of person with immutable characteristics that can't be changed. That's the difference.
We haven't really talked about the definition of bigotry, but it's typically defined as an unreasonable prejudice, and you haven't been able to produce any receipts to back up your own position.
Yeah.
So,
but Jack, we've spent a lot of time on this call.
Okay.
I would love for you to call back another time, so we can continue this conversation. It's that it has. We usually don't let the calls go on this long, but thank you for the call.
Thank you very much. Can I just say one? Can I say one other thing unrelated to the topic that we've been talking about? I just want to say thank you to you two specifically and this channel for even engaging the other side on this topic, because from my personal life, what I've seen from the trans or the trans ally side is they just say, you're a bigot, shut up, and they silence you. And for most of the time, you can't even talk to them or find middle ground on this kind of stuff. And just the fact that you're open and willing to talk about it, I think is a good thing. And I appreciate you taking my call. So
absolutely.
Absolutely. And I would just throw out there one last thing, which is it makes sense for average people to respond with hostility to people who are making arguments that the logical conclusion of is their eradication. It makes sense for trans people to respond that way to the arguments you're making. We have a show where we do a discussion in depth. But neither is championing an ideology that it would include the eradication of the person you're talking to.
Yeah, so, not everybody is trained.
For example, I'm wrong.
You are.
Okay. Let's say I'm wrong, for example. Okay, well, you think I'm wrong. And I'm wrong, and I think they're wrong, but I go to them, and instead of engaging me and proving me wrong, like you two are trying to do, they instead say, you're a bigot, blocked. Right? That doesn't help anybody finding
they're not. It helps them.
But they're not entitled. You're not entitled to their argumentation. right? Like that's just
but
how it
let's
works.
say that let's say the other side is in fact wrong. Let's say they are wrong, but they never get challenged or they never get shown to be wrong.
Well, I'm glad that you
You
sought
know,
us out because this is what we
Yeah.
do, and it's not, and not every person random on the street should have to have the fight like we've had the fight on this. Because honestly, like, you know, Jack and I have had many conversations. We're very studied on the topic. We understand this issue deeply, not just because of our lived experience, but because we also know the letter of the law in a lot of cases on how these things lead to the outcomes that are not desirable. Even for you on this call, you have said that these outcomes are uncivilized and against human dignity. And so we have seen it up close, and that's why, Jack, when I said people die, is because people have died, right? Because of this ideology. There are people no longer with us because they were brutalized to the point of their no longer existing.
I've lost friends.
well, that's
Same.
I've lost people in my life who could not withstand the daily imposition upon them to justify their ability to exist. And
That's
so
right.
it's not like if other people respond to you with hostility, it's because they've lost people and it's because they're in danger of maybe losing themselves.
Yeah.
And something maybe you should consider when you are bringing up these topics to randos.
Because, Jack, it doesn't go the other way.
No.
Because it's always us that are being put onto the defensive because you don't have to worry about the things that we have to worry about being removed from public spaces. You're the one that has the point of privilege and the power to be able to not have to worry about these things on a daily basis when our existence is literally trying to be legislated out of existence. So that's why it's a much more touchy topic for the person that is literally being put in the pain of having to deal with all of these legislations on a daily basis because you know, you see the news, you see how bad it is for trans people right now. So
maybe I don't see the new. I don't see it personally, but I'll take your word for it. Yeah,
all right,
I can
thank
see
you.
how
Appreciate
that
it.
would be a reality.
Yep.
Thank
All
you very
right,
much.
Jack,
Cheers
thanks.
for
All
that.
right,
Have a
bye.
good day.
Damn, it was like that was a very confusing call for me hearing my name so many times.
I know, and I felt so bad because now it's on the record. Everybody in chat thinks you're a bigot, Jack. Like
This is gonna be
everybody
so
thinks
easy to clip out of context.
I know, it's like everybody's gonna be like, Jack is an idiot. Jack doesn't know what she's talking
Uh,
about. Oh my gosh. All right. So we have time for, oh my gosh, it's already do we have call in it now after this, Lux?
We sure do.
We got one
With
more
me and
quick
Tommy
call.
Valkai.
let's
Okay.
go.
Okay. So I didn't know Forrest's name was Tommy. Let's do you want to try to take this call really quick?
I think we can do it. I believe in us.
Okay, okay. All right. We'll be quick and then we'll move on and get the super chats. Sorry, Lux. Uh Hello, this is Alice live on the line with Jack and Josie. You are in Virginia and you want to talk about trans people in the military. And I will say that as the president of the Transgender American Veteran Association, I am very familiar with this. How are you, Alice?
Hi. Yeah, sorry, I'm pressing my pad right now.
No
No
worries.
worries.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. So I am also, and I'm still reeling from that last.
Yeah.
I'm also a trans veteran. I was Air Force for 4 years.
Okay.
I joined. Like, I'm just giving all the. I'm gonna give you all the context. I joined in 2018.
Okay.
Under the first under the first Trump
Yeah.
presidency, and I was closeted, and I came out in 2021 and started to transition while active duty. And then I got out. And I don't know, from like I grew up on like stories like the Harlem Hellfighters and like how like marginalized communities like Navajo code breakers would like use that as like a hi, I'm here. We're just as valid as everybody else. And so like after I got out, I couldn't shake that feeling and joined ROTC at the college I was going to, and was like planning on going in commissioning. And I was doing a bunch of like veteran organizations and stuff, like working with the veteran population on campus, and like was super gung ho about it. And then August of uh, the new election cycle happened. I'm like, well, that's sucks.
Yeah.
And I have all my friends got kicked out, and I know Dr. Ben also did. I'm just, I don't know, like the intersectionality of like, and I like have like these conversations with people all the time, especially with like, other leftists. They're like, well, how can you like, why would you want to rejoin and all this like fun stuff? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I bought way too hook, line, and sinker into like that like propagandist line of like the exceptional few, but I still feel like I have definitely way more to give, and like also more in that like community of like people. Like I was the first trans person on my ROTC detachment. Like none of the cadre knew what to even like, how to like not deal with me, but like they were like, "Do you want to use the female dress and appearance standards?" I'm like, "Yes." Like, they didn't ask me if I was on estrogen or anything. I had been on it for like 2-3 years at that point, and so I was using the female PT standards and stuff.
Yeah.
But they never like asked me about that. They're like, "Which one do you use?" I'm like,
so
I'm just gonna say I'm gonna use this one. They're like, "All right, cool."
What is your question that you're calling in with?
Yeah, because we have to wrap it up.
We unfortunately are short on time.
Oh yeah. No, I guess the question is like, especially like to you, Josie, like how do you feel like your trans identity and your like veteranship like interact, especially with like within trans spaces and like even within like leftist spaces? And like I'm referring to like college leftist spaces where they're 18 years old, and like I don't know, they're young people are very opinionated, and I've been told by other leftists or other 18-year-olds that like they think that like literally every single military member should like eject from their cockpit and not have a parachute open. I'm like, that's rather radical. And I was like, I fight with that, and I fight with being trans, and it's just it's like the intersectionality is just, I don't think a lot of people grasp it.
No. I will say that and it's a great question, and I wish I had more time to get into it deeper. But I think about the fact that trans people are going to exist in all public life, and we have the right to do so. If we want to serve our nation and we want to be able to provide that service, then we should be allowed to. We can agree with our country and the current state of affairs, but the Department of Defense, what used to be the Department of Defense, had a very important mission. And I'm gonna pull up the photo here. And if you're not watching it live, you can look at it later. So this is my 2008 deployment book. And I served, during the surge. And this photo is a photo of our unit on the USS Ronald Reagan giving people in the Philippines USAID boxes after a devastating monsoon that nearly wiped out people's lives and livelihoods. And you can see how happy these people are for receiving a USAID box from military sailors and soldiers to give them the aid that they need to be able to survive a horrific situation such as a monsoon in the Philippines. That's soft power. That's the power those moments are the happy moments that I have from the military. And we used to be able to do that. We used to be able to provide soccer balls to refugees dealing with the international horrors of the world that we deal with. Our military is no longer like that, but we have to be able to hold the banner and say people deserve justice even within the military, that they should be able to serve with dignity and pride because it's something special that Americans can be able to do to prove that they care about for themselves, for their own health, for their own discipline, for education benefits, for housing benefits, for all of the things that we deserve. We as trans people deserve it like everybody else that has the opportunity to serve in the military. And I will continue to use my platform as a veteran to continue to fight for trans people because they think that trans people are out of the military. Well, guess what? There's a lot of stealth closeted trans people in the military right now that are just keeping their head down and serving until they don't have to until they can serve openly again. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's going to
I
be a
mean, I
lot
did
of
that for
young
2 years.
people. Yeah, exactly. And there's going to be a lot of young people that don't get it, but we have to be there so we can provide the leadership because if we do not stay in the military and bring a good point of view, all that's going to be left are a bunch of jackbooted fascist Nazis that are going to go in there and blow kids up instead of giving them soccer balls. And I refuse to allow that to continue. So we have to hold the line at all levels of the ranks, from the lowest ranks to the highest ranks. And we got to keep fighting to stay in because the second we give up is the second we lose our nation. And so I know it's a little patriotic. I know it's a little flag wavy
Little
American,
Kool-Aidy,
but
little Kool-Aidy.
I know it is. But you know what? I served under this flag and I'm proud that I did. I am not proud of the devastation that I was a part of, but I have the right to be able to speak out against it as a veteran, a person who wore that uniform, and by God, I'm gonna say it because it's my right to do so. And so that's what we have to tell the youth, that we have to hold the line at all levels because if we don't, we're in a lot of trouble. We're in a lot of trouble. So that's my point of view. And I know we don't have a lot of time. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I served with there was a lesbian captain. I served her for like 3 4 years, and it wasn't until that third year where I saw like a bassinet, like a Bay Wheat carrier under her desk. And I'm like, Captain, I didn't know you had a kid. She's like, oh yeah, it's me and my wife. I'm like, I served with this woman for like 3 years. I didn't know that she was married to a woman and had been for like like as long as I'd known her, and like that made me sad, but also I don't know. It's so conflicted. Like also her wife was also a service member,
Yeah.
also officer, and just like I wish things had kept progressing because that was in 2021, and like things were getting a lot better. Like they restarted Thuma and all this stuff, and like things are getting, and then just like
Yeah.
upended again for like the second time in like
We
16
will get it
years. And
back.
like
We will get it back.
yeah,
And
I
we will
think we
make it the
will.
Department of
Just
Defense again. And look, and once I get into federal office at some point in my career, I know it's not now, but it will be in probably 10, 20 years from now. But when I do, I'm going to fight very hard for a Department of Peace that does all the things that the military does without the war part, where we actually do all of the school building, the infrastructure building, go in and actually build our infrastructure and give people veteran benefits for serving in the Department of Peace. That's my dream. That's what I want because America should have the right to serve and the right to serve in a peaceful way that builds our country and not destroy others. So I know again,
yeah,
it's one of my dreams, but that's just how I hope it goes. And I want to
yeah.
cut the
Sign me
defense
up.
budget and put it into that. Yeah, exactly, right? Like I want it. I want it with all the trappings of the military, but for the Department of Peace. So that'd be great. All right. Well,
Thank you
thank you,
so
Alice.
much.
I'm sorry I have to let you go so
Yeah.
quick, but
Thanks, Josie. Thanks,
we got
Jack.
to show. All right.
Bye.
Bye. I know. I feel
Delightful
so
call.
like patriotic. Bleh.
All right, let's blaze through these
All right.
donos. Let's do it.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
you want to start?
Oh, hashtag Team Josie. Sorry, Riverboat Jack, but I'm riding or dying, bitch. LOL. Thank you.
Thank you for the $5 super chat, Joshua Everett. Trans identities are natural, but are they organic, gluten-free, and vegan-friendly? Hashtag Team Josie.
Mine is not gluten free. I have a lot of gluten. I love that gluten. Don't take that from me. If you William Addis, if you discriminate against sentient robots, is it racist or specious? Hashtag Team Josie. No, you can completely discriminate against those wirebacks. Like I am not giving a fuck about them. Those fucking clankers.
Thank you to S Thomp for the $5 super chat. I'm a trans woman early in transition, and today I feel hopeless about never being able to pass because I'm 31 and muscular. Any advice? Just own it. because genuinely, as you go through your transition, your muscles will become more feminine. Promise.
That's true. Yeah, I used to be a bodybuilder, so totally second that. Before we read any more super chats, Riverboat Jack, would like to take a minute to say in my own words how much I love Ted Cruz's beard. He may be a monster, but let that salt and pepper smash. Oh my gosh, Riverboat Jack, is that true? Is that true?
It's not true, but he does look better with the beard compared to his original blobfish form.
Oh, so you're for the little beard Nazis, huh? All right. I guess
it covers up more of his face.
You love those beardos, apparently.
Thank you for the $5, Grant Rants United. And furthermore, I, Riverboat Jack, need to set the record straight that I have never washed my ass, even as a woman. That's too gay for me. Hashtag Team Jack times 2.
Wow, getting all that good lore.
I frequently advocate for men to wash their asses.
Yeah, was that two votes for Jack? I think so. I think we got a troll who accidentally entertaining to the people he was trying to annoy, and these people say queer folks are the confused one. Hashtag Team Jack. Yes, yes, that first call was a strange one. Little dingaling.
Thank you
little
for Kelly.
dingaling.
The $10 super chat from Kelly Bean. You deserve payment for this call with Jacob. What a win. Love to hear this. Hashtag Team Josie.
Thank you. Brutus Magnus, awesome job, Jacob. It takes incredible strength of character to not only learn, but confront the people who to take ownership. You are a good man. Yes, 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 he is.
Jacob is great.
Making my heart sign.
Thank you for the $5 New Zealand. Christina Hankey. OMG, Jacob has me crying. Thank you for seeing us. Hashtag Team RBJ. Sorry, Josie, but I'd love to hear you debate today. Ooh.
Oh, interesting. Your parent Shade, thank you for the $5 Canadian. More than a feeling. It's a more than a feeling.
More than a feeling. Thank you for the $5. Ice Axe. Can I offer you an egg in this trying time? Hashtag RBJ.
Yes. I transition at 49 and a half. It's never too late to transition. Team RBJ, Kristen Hankey, thank you so much.
Thank you to Mystic Mind Analysis. It doesn't have the amount on screen, but I'm sure it was a great super chat. I would feel a fair bit of euphoria from having bigger breasts, but it takes far too long to get HRT on the NHS. Yeah, oof. NHS sucks.
Yeah, that's true. Mystic Mind Analysis again with the £5. My non-binary experience can be summed up as, what gender are you? The answer is yes. Hashtag Team Josie.
Thank you, Beautiful Sins, for the $5 super chat. When I got my legal name changed, my middle name may be heavily influenced by Sailor Moon. It's Serenity, by the way. Hell yeah. Sailor Moon is excellent inspo.
Great name. Great name. Also, I'd like to propose the team moat whistling. It is when I have agreeable statement as a dog whistle, then when called out, act like your statement / slogan was literally said in a vacuum. Thank you, Brutus Maximus.
Thank you for the $5 from Beaker Squeakers. New Zealand Jack just got run over by Thomas the Spank Engine. Hashtag RBJ.
Fair. $5 from Allison on Silverboat. Friends are a lot like snow. If you pee on them, they disappear. Hashtag Team Josie.
Thank you for the $5. Faux Rainer. Damn, get him, Jack. He got.
Yeah, he did. $10 Canadian from your parents, Shade Sex. Hashtag Team Jack for the banger used on the mute button. Yes,
Thank
good
you.
use of the mute button. It's always it's an art and you mastered it.
I don't do it often.
Yeah.
Idle Bits, thank you for the $10 super chat. For the Riverboat Jack Smackdown, you're being outmaneuvered mentally by children, and that's a problem for you, Chef's Kiss. Indeed.
Yeah. Yes. some monies because I don't have $10 New Zealand's from Christina Henke. As a Kiwi, I have to apologize for Jack. New Zealand is multicultural one, and his view is not prevalent. New Zealand is considered the definition of man and woman following the UK, and I hope Jack's view is rejected. Hashtag Team RBJ. Yeah, I hope so too. I hope it's rejected.
Thank you for the $5 super chat, Joshua Everett. Kiwi caller, disagreement's not a bigotry. This is a bigotry. Yeah.
$5 from Legally Mod. Jack is a bigot, and I think thanks being called a bigot is worse than actually being a bigot. Hashtag Team R Jack. See, Jack is just a bigot. That's all these can be clipped.
Oh no. Nenad Cubic, thank you for the 10 bams.
Damn.
Maybe close with a toilet joke. Now we got to flush that down.
Yeah, we do. You know, or that might clog the way. Legally $5. Legally Mod. Jack, there is no middle ground on human rights arguments. Hashtag good team good Jack. Yeah, you are the good Jack in this scenario.
Thank you for the $5 from Faux Rainer. Josie, you're rad, but after the brutal dressing down, it's got to be Team RBJ today. Y'all are one of the best duos. Much love. Thank you.
Yeah, you did summarize very well. I was snapping and clapping for you. It was so good.
Thank you.
$5 SUJL, legitimum no carbonum east mock Latin for don't let the bastards grind you down.
Hell yeah.
You do deserve this win if you get it.
Thank you. William Mattes, thank you very much for $5 super chat. Team Josie for life. Winner Winnie Rose can't sway my vote.
Yes. Call from Kate Lazzie VT 699 Canadian. Call me Cat. Thanks for all. Oh, sorry, Cat. Thank you for all you do. You both make the world a better place. Hashtag Team Jack at random.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Southpaw Travis, thank you for the $5 super chat. Need more BWA energy in these super chats. Shimps. Hashtag Team RBJ.
You're crushing me right now. Anime sidekick gal, $10. At least make it close friends. Hashtag Team RBJ. Love the work you do. Both do. I enjoy so much when you go silent as they think through the argument and realize they are about to get pwned. Oh, yeah. Happy millennial fun. There. Pwned, totally millennial type.
Mika Lebrigida, thank you very much for the 10 euros. One of the reasons people don't want to argue for trans rights in real life is the risk that someone who want to cancel them for existence might pose to them. Team Jack. No hashtag.
Ooh, no hashtag. Ooh, that's a pain one and a heartbreaker. Alice and Pepper, $5. I'm almost required to say this, but fly high, y'all. Love the show and all that you do. Hashtag Team Josie and hashtag Forged in the Sea. Yes, that is true. Thank you, Alice.
Thank you for the $5. William Mattis. They always ask, what is a woman? Never how is a woman. So women, how are y'all? Hashtag Team Josie.
Yes.
Excellent question.
Good. Thank you. We're doing great. Oh, I got smashed, and it looks like I'm going to be defending no dessert for TERFs, which sounds too easy. Sounds too easy to do.
Charging up the clock.
All right.
3, 2, 1, go.
So yeah, no dessert for TERFs is almost self-explanatory. You know, when you're eating your dinner and you're just like, oh, you think you're gonna get your dessert. No dessert for you. Because dessert only goes to the sweet, not to the sour. And that's just how it goes. We have to make sure we preserve the sweetness for the sweet people, because the bitterness that a TERF has in their mouths anyway would make it's a waste of a dessert, because it's not going to be sweet. Like if they try to eat a sweet dessert, what is it going to be? Bittery sweet? Ugh. Like that's not going to be great, because that's all they feel when we debate them. So the bad Jack in the argument understands the bitterness of the sweetness that Jack was throwing at them. And that's the only sweetness they get. They get to see the sweetness of a trans person, and they can observe but not taste. And that could go any direction you want it to go. So they're not getting my dessert, that's for sure. And you can say it the way you want to see it, but they're not getting it. And this innocent little dessert metaphor has turned into something pretty graphic. So your little dirty minds can think about it that way. So no sweetness that any trans person has to serve up in the bakery or in the bedroom. They don't get either, because their bitterness will just ruin anything that they put their tongue on. And that is just the case. That one came out with no effort. I'm just saying. Transphobes beware. You are making everything taste terrible. So no dessert to you until you understand what sweetness is. Because until you understand what it is to be sweet, no sweetness for you in any way, if from the kitchen or in the bedroom.
Not gonna get my cookies.
Damn straight. All right. So thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you. And we gotta go quick. So we're not even gonna thank our people. Oh, there they are.
I don't know why.
Thank everybody. Oh, look at this. I never heard this song. Where's the music? It's like this. Make sure you join the Patreon for all the goody goods. We got a lot of good things there. We do shows.
Support the show.
Subscribe and like and share.